The Miller's Edge with 4-time SEC champion and 2-time national champion Christian Miller.
Once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here's college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
And welcome into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge, Top 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you guys are still staying warm, man. I know we keep mentioning that, but it's true. Temperatures are dropping back down. Chase, I thought we were in the clear. It looked like everything was kind of going back up, and comes to find out this weekend, maybe I just didn't pay close enough attention, but we will be dropping right back down and into the teens. So for Mike and all our listeners that are up north, I see Mike in the chat here already. He says minus 25 this morning. I mean, is that what it feels like, or that's the actual temperature? That's kind of crazy. But regardless, hope you guys stay warm this weekend. I know we have a weekend filled with some action. You got Alabama basketball taking on the Florida Gators. It's a ranked matchup. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited for it. You know, you had that exchange with their coach talking about the whole Bediako situation, which he still is playing. And by the way, I forgot to mention this yesterday. They postponed the official, I guess, hearing to, I want to say, February 6th, maybe the 8th. All I know is that means they gave him another game or two that he can play, while he is on this temporary restraining order. So if you guys want to tune into that, it will be this weekend on Sunday, 12 p.m. Central Time. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Alabama looked much better after losing to Tennessee, coming back, responding well against Missouri. Now they will face a Florida team who just played my dad's Gamecocks, and he was really impressed by them. So they're a really big team, really long, and sounds like Bediako will be of good use this Sunday. So you got that, but we got plenty of football to talk about. You got the Senior Bowl still taking place right now. Practice is going on. A lot of media coverage regarding that. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. Some expectations there. Again, Cuevas, Tim Keenan, and LT Overton all playing in the game. Number of other guys were supposed to, had to pull out due to injury. And in terms of media, we got to hear from Kalen DeBoer, who was down at the Senior Bowl yesterday. But I found a little clip, and it's not very long, but we did hear from Ryan Grubb, and he was up in Montgomery, I believe, with Kalen DeBoer. They were speaking at the High School Coaches Association deal, and there was a quick little snippet. So we'll probably dive into that and just kind of hear what he had to say regarding his outlook for this upcoming season. He spoke on some of their freshman enrollees. He was really fired up about those guys. So we'll listen to that. We'll respond to it. And per usual, we always got something. I told you guys, there's always going to be something in the news to discuss and break down. This time, Chase, Reed, I don't know if you guys saw this just yet, but this one was pretty interesting. There's actually two things I want to hit on. We got to dive back into the tampering conversation because there's a former, well, actually, he might be current, but there's a player that played at Virginia Tech who basically detailed his experience with tampering. He posted a video on TikTok and gave his account on that whole situation. So if you guys want an inside look on how it can look, there's plenty of ways it can look. We heard from Dabo Swinney one way, but let's hear from a former I keep saying former. I'm not sure if he's still playing or not, but let's hear from a college football player himself at some point, and he'll talk about that. But here's the main thing that I wanted to talk about today, and that's why it's the title of the stream, guys. Hollywood Smothers. You guys know that name. It sounds familiar. Probably didn't know him very long, but that's because he committed to Alabama, was committed briefly, ended up taking a visit to Texas a few days later, misled a number of people, and ended up going on that visit, ultimately commits to Texas, and that's where he is at and will play his college football for the 2026 season. Now, we obviously had moved past this whole deal. You know, we talked about it, already went through it. We got some clarification from Andrew Bone. So, again, I owned up to the saying that, hey, initially I felt like we probably dropped the ball somewhere, but it sounded like, according to Andrew Bone, we about did what we could in that situation. So we owned up to that part. But the reason we're bringing him back up is, if you guys haven't seen, Pete Nakos, who's with On3, who he gets access to all these guys. I mean, ASAP. So he's on his stuff. But he spoke with Hollywood Smothers, and Hollywood basically broke down his reasoning for flipping from Alabama to Texas. Now, everybody that's familiar with college sports and the landscape of it right now, think it's safe to say, typically we all just assume a situation like that, especially regarding a program like Texas, you just go, oh, it's got to be about the bread, right? Oh, he got a bag to make that move. Well, according to Hollywood Smothers, it wasn't necessarily about the NIL. We'll dive into exactly what his reasonings were and if we're buying it or not and give our thoughts on it in a moment. But first, we got to shout out to some of our sponsors. Shout out to our friends over at R&R Cigars. Again, if you're looking for a place to watch a game this weekend or any game for that matter, could be any sport, football, baseball, basketball, and you enjoy a nice stick, nice drink, they got over 160 bourbons to pair with that, luxurious humidor that they have, the best one in the Southeast. Pretty much every cigar that you can imagine. Great deals as well. Make sure you guys check them out. 2703 Gary Fitz Street, right here in Tuscaloosa. You can't miss it. The big mansion on the corner downtown. Plus, you can always go to their website, rnrcigars.com. Place your orders there. Use that code Miller's Edge. Get yourself a discount and take advantage of that. Because, again, it's for our listeners here on the Miller's Edge. We're always trying to find deals and things that we can offer for you guys. So make sure you guys take advantage of that because supporting them is supporting us, right? And we're one big family here, right? So always support the team and all the people that do a big part to help put this whole thing on. So shout out to R&R Cigars again. That is R&R Cigars, the official cigar provider of Alabama football since 2014. So if you want the same cigars that the players smoke when we get that dub over the Volunteers, that's where they get it from, R&R Cigars. All right, we're going to hit our first break. When we come back, we'll dive into this whole story with the Hollywood Smothers things because, I mean, everybody, it was either laughing, furious. I don't know. There's a bunch of reactions that I saw just given his response. So we'll detail his response and then we'll respond to his response. All coming up right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started on this Free for All Friday. Plus, no guests lined up outside of my dad. I think he's going to jump back on today. We'll chop it up with him some more. And outside of that, we're pretty much free. So 205-342-9904. If you guys want to join in on this Free for All Friday, we'd love to have you. Dial us up and we'll talk to you right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Do you have cracks or potholes that are dragging down your property's appeal? Hey, I'm Christian Miller, and at Asphalt Restoration, we transform driveways and parking lots with expert repairs, new paving. Shout out to Asphalt Restoration, another one of our partners here on the show for all of your asphalt needs. So they go right there on the slide. Who do we got in here? Let's see. We got you, Kenji. What's up, Smitty? Y'all pray for me. It'll be 80 degrees here. Okay. See, so that's how you're coming on this Free for All Friday, Smitty. I see it. I see how it's going to be. Is it really 80 though? Like seriously, is it really going to be 80? I would maybe believe 60, but I'm not buying 80. There's no way it's going to be 80 and it's going to be 18 degrees here this weekend. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Mimi, what's going on? I feel like I haven't seen you here in a minute. Phil said my brother irritated me, sent me a photo of camping on the beach in San Diego. Dang, San Diego? That's probably nice over there too. I just don't know about 80. Christian says he's full of it. I don't believe that he got more money. Wait, he's full of it. I don't believe that he got more money. Oh, I don't believe that he got more money. I got you. Okay. We'll discuss it. I'll be honest with you. You guys might be shocked with my answer. Believe it or not, you might be kind of shocked with it. Only acknowledge one Hollywood. Wait, Dalen Smothers. If you guys are just tuning in, man, if you haven't hit that like button real quick, let's get it out the way. Let's see where we're at, man. You guys, early folks, are always great on it. Not bad. We're at 12. We got 40 in here. Let's see if we can get that 25 during this break. Joey, what's up? He said, Mike. Yeah, I think you mentioned about that. Yeah, if you definitely know a little bit about the whole XLR thing, I definitely want to get maybe right now I use a USB mic, but the goal is maybe the aux mic. Always listening. Sometimes can I? Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate that, Mimi. Good to have you in here. Roster wise, outside looking in, Texas probably more equipped. Kimberly, what's up? Roll Tide. Our guy Louis in here. What's up, man? I wonder what you think of Caden Jones. I think he looked real good at times. Yeah, we can talk a little bit about linebackers too. I saw like an article or something that mentioned that Kane Womack spoke about the linebackers. I think he also, I know he's at the Senior Bowl. I'm assuming he might have been maybe in Montgomery too. So I'm going to see if I can find that. Dwight always finds everything. So Dwight or any of you guys, if you've seen the clip of Kane Womack speaking to the media, um, tag us on X and we'll throw it up on the screen. That way we can all watch it. Let me get this. Yeah, I feel like somebody posted like the whole. I thought I bookmarked it. The whole quote by Hollywood. I got the piece of it. Let me see.
Edge on Tide 100.9.
And welcome back into this free for all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, let's jump right in this free for all Friday. I know we got Smitty on the phone lines, and we're going to go to him. I just want to start here. That way we can kind of lay the table officially, and then we'll let Smitty on the phone lines and give him a chance to respond, because I'm sure he's got plenty of thoughts regarding this whole thing. But again, we're talking about the Hollywood Smothers situation. We're going to start here because we already, we went through the whole thing when it happened, right? He committed here, ended up at Texas. Thought we were already done with that, but he came out in the media and was talking about his reasonings for doing it. So we got to respond to this because there were a lot of opinions on this. So let's start with what exactly was said by Hollywood Smothers. So while speaking to On Three's Pete Nakos for a story that just published, I believe it was yesterday. According to him, even though everybody assumed this was the case, according to Hollywood Smothers himself, he claims a bigger NIL check was not his main reason for leaving. Instead, it was an increased commitment to winning a championship this upcoming season in Austin. So that was, the I guess summary of it from AL.com. But this is what he said. Texas is returning the potential number one overall pick at quarterback in Arch Manning. And Alabama was losing their starter to the draft and a lot of pieces to the NFL or portal in the wide receiver room. Texas just seemed like they had players in place to go on a run and an offensive-minded coach who knows how to scheme his weapons open in the run and pass game. What separated things for me was Texas's emphasis on going to win it all, feeling like they shouldn't have been counted out last year in the playoffs. So that was pretty much what he had to say. Now, I don't know about the whole interview because I didn't see the whole interview, but that was the bulk of what he said in terms of his reasoning for why he decided to flip from Alabama to Texas. Now, again, it was real quick. It was only a few days that he was committed, if I'm not mistaken. So, again, not the biggest deal in the world on our end. Yeah, it would have been nice to get an explosive weapon in the backfield, but I think the more you revisit it and you start looking at it and you think about, all right, in terms of the character that we're trying to bring in here again, and it's his right. We talk about again, we got to, us, we like to be honest and transparent. If we're going to have this energy with Bediako about, well, if it's within the rules, technically, if he never signed anything, while it's bad business to commit and go on a visit and mislead people, technically, within the rules in terms of, I guess, being signed and whatnot, I guess he was able to do whatever he did. That said, let's kind of break this down for a second, because I know everybody immediately jumped to conclusions that, hey, man, he's lying, he's capping. Why not he just come out and just be honest? And I'll just give my thoughts on this whole thing. I think he's halfway telling the truth. And here's why I say that. To be fair, to his point about Texas has a returning quarterback, Alabama does not. Even though we're really high on our quarterbacks, including me, I think Austin Mack and Keelan Russell both have the potential to be some of the better quarterbacks in the country once it's their time, once they're developed and they earn that opportunity to be a true starting quarterback. I think that of both of these players, I truly do. That said, to his point, now I don't know if we necessarily deem Arch Manning a potential. I guess he said potential number one overall pick. Could it happen? Sure. I think Arch still has to prove a lot for that to happen, but we all know the hype that comes around Arch Manning. So, starting with that point there, I can kind of understand, just like I made the point about Cam Coleman, right? When Cam Coleman ended up choosing Texas, we talked about this, and I think a lot of our fans even acknowledge that. I mean, as a receiver, who you're going to play with that quarterback and the stability that might be there, including the receivers as well, just the offense in general. I mean, that is a big deal to a receiver, or maybe even a running back. So I wouldn't say he's necessarily lying with that. This is where I think it comes in. Did NIL play a factor? I'm almost 100% positive it played some factor. Now, was it the only priority? No. Was it the biggest priority? I'm not sure. I'm not him. I can't speak on that. I can just go off of what he's saying. However, I will acknowledge some of the points that he made just from a football perspective. I don't think it's out of the ordinary for somebody to say, "Hey, I feel a little bit more comfortable in a situation where, the quarterback is returning. They got these weapons on the outside, maybe. This is how I'm going to be." I mean, to me, like from a player perspective, like that would make sense. To me, I would almost equate it to if I was transferring as an edge guy and I have a chance to go to a school where, they've got some D tackles that are returning that are some, potential, high draft picks. And I'm like, all right, man, just seeing how if I go in that situation, it feels like it could be one way for me off the edge versus another where everybody on the defense is almost new and there's a lot of potential there, but it's kind of like, I mean, it's a little uncertainty there. I can understand where he's coming from a little bit with that. Then he even mentioned just really, losing all the pieces. To be fair, let's look at Alabama right now where we stand. I mean, we're replacing 4 out of the 5 starters on our offensive line, and he's a running back. I mean, that is a big deal. I mean, I'm not going to deny him that. Receiver, you got Lottie coming back. You got Ryan Williams returning. You did lose. Why am I drawing a blank on his name from the portal? Kid Horton. You lose Horton to the portal, and he mentioned like the receiver room. I don't think we lost that many pieces in the receiver room. That to me, I was just kind of like, I don't know about that one. But there's that. But to be fair, in terms of when you look at both offense, now I'd have to go back and really look at who all Texas lost. But I do know they definitely did add a guy like Cam Coleman at the receiver spot. And I think offensive line wise, they added a couple guys, some experienced guys via the portal. Now, I don't remember all of their returning players either. But from my understanding right now, before I go back and double check, if I had to compare the two teams, I'm pretty sure Alabama's replacing a lot more than what Texas is replacing. So I give him some points on that one. That's not necessarily a lie. Texas is probably a little bit more. I guess they're returning more of their previous production, maybe if I'm not mistaken. Plus, some of the pieces that they did add via the portal probably go well with running back, right? Like I think 2 of the linemen that they did add, I know at least one, but were very experienced players that were highly sought after. Now, this is where we kind of start drawing a blank. So I know you guys are probably a little frustrated, like, why are you agreeing with everything he's saying? Listen, I'm just being honest here, man. From my perspective, just my opinion. Not saying it's right, just my opinion as a former player. I feel like some of what he was saying makes sense. However, when it gets to the part, let's talk about the next part. He says, Texas just seemed like they had players in place to go on a run, an offensive-minded coach who knows how to scheme his weapons open in the run game and in the pass game. So the first part in terms of having the players to go on a run, we just kind of talked about that. I mean, could you argue that Texas might be a little more equipped right now the way it looks just because Alabama is relying a lot more on youth and potential? One could argue that. I'm not too mad at that. Then he goes on to say an offensive-minded coach who knows how to scheme his weapons open in the run and pass game. That one was kind of interesting because to me, it almost sounded like he didn't have the most faith in how he would be utilized here. But let's kind of break that down because we looked at the numbers yesterday while I think it was after we got off air. We had pulled up, like some of our rushing statistics. And I wish I had it pulled up. I'll pull it up real quick while I'm talking. But what I do remember was in the last 3 games that we played, the Indiana game, the Oklahoma game, and the Georgia game in the SEC championship, I want to say total, we had like 27 rushing yards total. So, I mean, just put yourself in, a guy like his shoes who's transferring, who's a running back. I think it's safe to say, and here's the statistic pulled up right here. Indiana, we had 17 attempts for 23 yards. Oklahoma, we had 25 attempts for 28 yards. And then Georgia, we had 16 attempts for -3 yards. So it ends up totaling 48 total rushing yards in 3 games. Now, perspective matters here. Perspective is very important here because on one end, you could look at it as they desperately need the help, and I can go in there and I can clearly make an immediate impact. I could be the answer to a large issue with that offense. That's definitely a perspective. However, the other end could justify some concerns that could say, hey, Alabama had some good players last year, but they just for some reason could not find a way to run the ball effectively. That kind of concerns me. Speaking like him hypothetically. So I think it depends on perspective here. But I'm curious y'all's thoughts because I know I'm playing devil's advocate, but I just know it's easy to jump to the money thing. But then when you really listen to it and kind of break it down and you're just being honest here, right? Some of it does make sense. However, I'm also not dumb. Now, I'm not a pocket watcher. At least we try not to be pocket watchers. However, shout out to Tia. Tia's got clips and pictures, and I don't know how she finds all this stuff, but I don't even know if this is his actual Instagram page, but allegedly this was him posting this video where he wrote, "My baby ready," and it looks like it's a nice black, what is that, a S500 Mercedes S-Class? Those aren't cheap now. Now, I'm not trying to pocket watch, but I'm just saying that is not a cheap car. And I do remember, and I don't know if I mentioned it on here because I was like, I don't want to sound like I'm judging. I'm not judging, but his picture on his story when he did arrive in Tuscaloosa did feature a bust down watch. I don't know if it was a Patek, I don't know what I can't remember, but it was flooded out. He had designer bags. He had custom, shoes that were definitely high end shoes. They're expensive shoes. So I'm not trying to judge the young man, but I'm just saying it is clear that he takes care of himself, right? In terms of some of the luxuries that come with this whole thing. So my conclusion is this before we go to this break, and I want to get y'all's thoughts 205-342-9904, or if you're in the chat, please drop your response in the chat. Again, we're breaking down this whole Hollywood Smothers thing right now. This is my thoughts. I believe NIL played a role, which I don't think he didn't say it didn't. I think what was it? Let me make sure I get it right. I think he said it was not the main reason or something like that. It clearly played a role. We know Texas takes care of their people. They do. It's just a fact. Digger's probably gonna call in and get mad, but there's no denying it. Like I said, we're gonna be honest here with us. Digger, you got to be honest on y'all's end. They pay very well at Texas. However, the concerns that he did list in here, I don't think they're complete BS. I think there is some truth to that. Now, does that outweigh the whole NIL piece? No, I'm pretty sure if I had to guess, the NIL piece probably was like the top priority. That's just from my opinion. I'm not calling him a liar, but just saying. But I will acknowledge some of the things that he listed. Just being transparent, I don't think he's completely wrong for feeling that way if that is truly how he does feel. In terms of, okay, one school does have a returning quarterback. They got these guys up front. Alabama did struggle to run the football. I'm a little concerned how I might be utilized. That's a big deal. These guys do. At the end of the day, I know they want all this that comes with NIL, but they still want to make it to the NFL. Believe it or not, they really do, and that could have an effect on that. Now, I don't know about his idea about splitting reps with the young man from Arizona State, because there's going to be two of them. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing because having fresh legs, and we've always had nice tandems here at the running back room. It's definitely a very normal thing, but he is going to definitely have less carries than he probably initially thought he would before knowing they're bringing in another young man at the running back spot. So I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. I'm curious to get y'all's 205-342-9904. We're going to hit a timeout when we come back. We'll hear from Smitty first. I'm going to read some of these messages in the chat. And anybody else wants to jump on here? I think we got Carson as well. We'll keep on rolling. It's a free-for-all Friday right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Quick timeout. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. We'll be right back.
The Tuscaloosa Thread News Update.
All right, let's see what you guys got to say about this. And I know people are going to be annoyed with this. Listen, I'm not defending the guy. I'm just being honest that some of what he mentioned is valid. It is valid. I don't think it's the main piece like he made it seem, but I do think some of what he said is valid. All right, we got 84 in here. I think we got 35 likes. Let's see if we can grab 15 more likes real quick. Let's see if we can get up to 50 during this break. If you guys have it, man, smash that like button real quick. We appreciate that. It's a free-for-all Friday. Last day of the week, man. Last day of the week that we're on here. So let's get those likes through the roof today. I'm from Raleigh. Don't like NC State anyway. Did you watch him at NC State? We went back and watched some tape. I thought he was a pretty good player, but just curious if you kept up with him. What were your thoughts on him? Let me scroll back up real quick. Oh, we got a super chat from Gelato. Let me hit this real quick. Appreciate that, Gelato. He says, "Did Texas offer him more money or not?" That's like saying the Duke quarterback reason for leaving wasn't NIL driven. I don't have the specific numbers on what Texas offered him. If I had to guess, listen, he had leverage, so without a doubt they offered. Listen, just what I know about business, he was committed to Alabama. If Texas wanted him, that meant they were going to have to step something up. There's no way he would just say, man, well, I'm committed here already. I'm enrolled in classes. Maybe I'll take a pay cut to go there." No. So without me even knowing the numbers, I mean, that's probably bad journalist etiquette, but I'm not a journalist. I'm sitting here just talking in front of a computer. I would be like 90% positive that he got paid more money based off the fact alone that he had the leverage. Like, they were pursuing him after he was already committed. You get what I'm saying? So I would assume that, yes, he got more money, and that's why, in my opinion, there's no denying that. And I think that definitely played a large role. I'm just saying, to his points that he made, he's not necessarily like he's making points that definitely could be valid points for somebody in that situation. I'm just being honest. Just like when Cam Coleman chose Texas, I'm sure Cam Coleman was going to make more at Texas, but there's no doubt in my mind that as a wide receiver, because you got to think, I mean, NFL receivers do this all the time in free agency. Like, guys want to feel confident in where they're about to go. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying somebody can't feel confident in what Alabama's doing. I'm not saying that at all. I mean, I think you got two really talented quarterbacks. Like, we know that. But if you're talking about a little bit more of not necessarily security, but what's the word I'm looking for? It's a word I'm just trying to draw here, but maybe just the confidence level, maybe there's a little bit higher of a confidence level. The Duke quarterback, his deal, we'll talk about that in a second. He said his goal is to get to the NFL, and Miami is the way to do that. Technically, Duke played in the ACC championship and Miami didn't. So I don't know about that one. And to be fair, if you can play, you can play. I mean, Daniel, what's his name? Former Giants quarterback, was the Colts. He was at Duke when he had top draft pick. I don't think that dude got paid a lot of money to go to Miami. And welcome back into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge, Top 100.9, 1230 WTBC. It is definitely a free-for-all Friday, man. We're talking about something that's a little, I don't know, man. Chase, I don't know what you call this topic. Yeah, Daniel Jones, thank you. That's who I was looking for. Sorry, we were talking during the break about a question from Gelato about, the offer from Texas. And I just basically said, with Smothers, I don't have the numbers on Smothers, on what Texas offered him or anything, but with him having the leverage of being committed to Alabama already, there's no doubt in my mind that they had to up the offer. Like, even just to get him to come visit, right? That wouldn't make much sense, So without knowing the numbers, I think it's safe to say that he got paid more money from Texas. But I still think some of the things that he listed are valid points. I just don't know if they were the whole deal, like it kind of is made to seem. But it's part of it, and that's where Gelato brought up the Duke quarterback Mensa, who transferred to Miami. That one to me is a little bit different, because he basically said, and I'll pull it up. We'll talk about that in a second. But I think his reason was, my goal was to play in the NFL. Miami is the place to do that. I mean, Daniel Jones, I don't remember exactly where he got drafted at, but I'm pretty sure he was a top draft pick. He played at Duke. The ACC championship game consisted of Duke and not Miami. I know Miami went and played in the championship game, but listen, that one clearly was Miami. That one's a little bit different, because as a quarterback, I mean, and Miami was allegedly the one that offered Ty $6.5 million. Duke wasn't going to pay that. So you're talking about even if Duke was paying him like $4 million, $2.5 million difference. That's way different. I don't think the Smothers situation that there's not that type of difference here for a running back. No. So the Mensa guy, I think that one's a little bit easier to say. Plus him being a quarterback, that was about money. I mean, the whole NFL thing, brother, you can get to the NFL from Duke, especially at quarterback. Come on, man. Come on. Daniel Jones just did it, and he was the top draft pick. But we'll dive into that here in a second. Let's go to the phone lines, 205-342-9904. We got Smitty up first. Smitty, welcome in.
How's it going, Christian?
Oh, man, it's good, brother. It's a Friday. It's not 80 degrees like you're bragging about in the comment section, but,
hey,
we're making it.
I know one thing. My lady was like, she doesn't watch wrestling. I'm going to watch the Royal Rumble. But someone who don't watch wrestling, she's going to answer the tribal chief going to be there. It's like, come on now. But we always can. You know.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Daniel Jones, I think he's like the number 6 pick overall. He's like a top 10 pick. And for the Giants. And so as a quarterback, you can go anywhere, go to the NFL because they look at traits as a quarterback. There's a reason the North Sellers could be number 1 pick, and this guy could hit the ocean if he's standing in it. Let's just be real. Because he has those physical traits.
Yeah, he's a good kid, man. Don't hit Lenoris with a straight, man. Come on, man. He's a good kid, man.
I think he's a swell guy. If I had a daughter, he could date her. But let's be real here. If you want to beat South Carolina, let him play quarterback. But you know that because you've been there as a player, Chris. You're like, hey, we want this guy to throw the ball 30 times. But
true.
But with this whole Smothers thing, the reason I say it's NIL was because Texas got that commitment in signing from the Arizona State back already. So you got to do some extra, glad handling to get someone to commit. Well, you already brought another back in. Already.
Wait. I thought the other back was after him, though. Or was it? How did it go?
Because I think he committed because when that crystal ball came out for Alabama, he kind of went and said, I committed already. And so it was so he had to commit. He committed after the Arizona State kid. I forgot his name. Apologize for that. But here's the thing, right? Those issues that he listed, right? He already knew that coming in. It's kind of like a woman giving Stephon Diggs and get mad that he has another baby. We know this when you met him. But
come on, man. He just hitting everybody with strays today, man.
Hey, I'm sorry, man. Hey, he's been hitting strays too. You see how he's been moving.
Okay.
Here's the thing, guys. Hey, here's the thing, seriously, right? Texas, I looked it up. I didn't realize they were only 11th in the conference in rushing. So they stunk like us. May not be the level, but they stunk also. And people talk about Arch. The media wants it so bad for Arch to be great. They want it so bad. And my thing is, I watched them play a good bit of times this year because I had the quad box on. I don't see it. And I know people love saying returning. That don't mean that you're going to be great. And I'm just being real here. And I'm not knocking the kid. Hey, they're going to pay you some more money, get that bread, especially as a running back. You got to get every dime you can as a running back because the draft, the positional value dorks in the NFL don't believe in paying running backs. Because you remember when Ryan Tannehill got $30 million quickly from the Titans by handing the ball to Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry had to crawl over broken glass to get his money?
Yeah. No, you're not wrong.
So, that's what I was saying. As a running back, you got to get every dime you can. But I think, in the age of the portal, you can't flip things, right? And I know with Cam Coleman, let's be real here. Any quarterback was an improvement over what he had when he was at Auburn. Let's be real here. But at the same time, I don't want Alabama paying $3 million for a wide receiver when we got good wide receivers on our roster already. I'm just being real, and we have offensive line and defensive line needs. I'd rather just put money there.
Would you have paid $3 million for Jordan Seaton? Or not would you have paid, but would you have been okay with Alabama investing $3 million for an offensive tackle that's, pretty likely going to be a top 5, top 10 draft pick?
Here's the thing. You got to pay his uncle, too. That's another thing. But here's the thing. Yeah, guys.
Oh, my gosh.
So, but here's the thing, right? I think with schools like Alabama, there's a little thing that you might have, especially how you recruited over the past couple years over there. is that you bring this guy in, he's a 1-year rental. Especially if the team's going to be young already. You could risk losing some of those other guys you had already. And just like what happened at Mississippi State. There's a big thing there, if you get what I'm saying. If you build it like, hey, we're going to develop you, we're going to pay you to stay and develop you. Oh, okay, don't worry about it. We'll bring this other guy in. And remember, Deaton was a day one starter in Colorado, so he was an inexperienced guy. And he got his experience playing. And I think that's a dynamic I think people may miss. It's like if you already brought these guys in, you paid them a pretty penny already to come, and they got to sit another year. I think that's something right there that each coaching staff, each school has a different situation in that, if you get what I'm saying. And now, if I didn't have guys that like highly touted guys who I saw play well, just growing their bodies, yeah, I probably brought them in. But if I got guys that I know that I could keep for another 2 years, and I know they're pretty good already, they just got to take their lumps. That's a decision that they have to know. And they watch these guys every day, like Jackson Lloyd. They watch him every day, and they know. Okay, for example, and that's just a decision they got to make, And that's each school that had to make that decision. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I mean you're right. That's why I tell everybody. I mean, even like when a lot of fans are calling for, man, bench this guy or play this guy. Like I always say, at the end of the day, the coaches spend, I mean, literally hours on top of hours daily with these guys. They see them in practice. They watch the tape. They're the ones doing the install. They know who's busting assignments left and right in practice. They know who they can rely on to go out there and actually go and do their job. So, I mean, you do have to consider those things. And I think Coach DeBoer, when he talked about the offensive line, Jackson Lloyd came up immediately. He obviously mentioned Michael Carroll, then Will Sanders, and I think Jackson Lloyd was the third name that he mentioned. Mm-hmm. So just listen to that. It's pretty evident. Those three guys are guys that he's already pretty high on going into next season. Then you think about it, all right, well, you did bring in some more guys that can compete. Some have some experience. Then once they kind of get, meshed and start working together and finding the right group, I'm a little bit more confident right now in this offensive line than I was probably a week or two ago, if I'm just being honest. Yeah. I'm starting to kind of see some stuff kind of look like, all right, this could come together. We'll see. Now, it still has to come together, right? That's still a big piece. True. But, I just feel like there's a little more confidence there than there was a couple weeks ago. But anyway, listen, it's tough to say, man. I mean, at the end of the day, this whole portal thing, it is what it is. I mean, you're going to get some, you're not going to get them. I mean, you can't cry over it. In my opinion, man, even all the things I've said about this Hollywood dude, man, it's just hard to even give my perspective of, hey, I understand some of his concerns. I think some of them are valid. When here's the picture, and you'll see it on the stream if you jump back on here. I mean, literally, you got the flooded out watch. This is a picture he posted on his story when he arrived in Tuscaloosa. Balenciaga sweatpants. I forgot to mention those. Those are some type of those Nikes that he has. I mean, those are custom, so those are very expensive, I'm sure. Designer bags. Like, come on, man. Like, yeah. So I understand why nobody's buying what he's saying, even though there's probably a little bit of truth in there. But when you're doing that stuff, man. But to your point about Derrick Henry, like, we know backs aren't really valued. So hey, man, can't really blame him, man. Get it while you can. Yeah, get it while you can.
Yeah. and plus, remember this. I tell you in the summer, Texas had to replace all those offensive linemen. That's why I hit a lick on a under this year. But they had them at 10.5. I said, they're going under, And I was like,
wait, let me ask you about that. Smitty, let me ask you about that real quick, because you just brought something up I forgot to mention. Because to his point about, because I forgot to mention this, so we'll piggyback off of it. His outlook is, he said, I wanted to go to a team that I feel like we're in the best position to go win it all with the talent and depth at Texas. What are your thoughts on him saying that? I mean, do you feel like Texas is better equipped in 2026? I'm not saying necessarily they're going to win it all, but when you look at where Alabama looks, or how Alabama looks right now, and how Texas looks right now, what are your thoughts on his statement with that?
Their offensive line better improve from what it was last year, and Arch has to improve also as a passer. And so that's something there. And we got to be honest about Sark, right? He hasn't done the most with the most, if you get what I'm saying. Because let's be real here. Everybody's crowning preseason number one. All these media folks are Arch's going to have a coordination on Ohio State field. They got shut down. And everybody wants to talk about Alabama losing to Florida State. Texas lost to the worst Florida team at Florida also. But and I just think that Texas has some improvements to make as well. And Sark has to show up as well. Because one thing being the coordinator is another thing being the head coach. And this man has not been short of resources and players and all that. So all that, and Alabama had all those issues. Alabama still made the SEC title game. Texas was in the Citrus Bowl. And
no,
so
you're 100% right. But if you're going off of last year, 100%. I mean, Alabama clearly had a much better season than Texas, right? Alabama was in the SEC championship game. Alabama played in the college football playoffs. They won a college football playoff game. There's no denying that. I just when I compare these two teams going into 2026, I will be honest. Because I'm not looking at last year because last year's teams don't matter because he's not a part of either one of those teams. Yeah. But for this upcoming year, where they stand right now, I do think that there is an argument to be made that where Texas is right now might be a little bit further along, given just they might have some more experienced guys coming back that have a little bit more outlook. Not saying that's how it's going to play out because we know Penn State, Clemson, all these teams that always have this high outlook, a lot of good players like Clemson. I remember preseason last year, they had like 6 guys on like a mock first round draft going into the year, and you look how they went. So I'm not saying that just automatically means Texas's outlook is necessarily better, but I do think there is some arguments if people want to compare and go after they went and got 2 really good running backs out of the portal. I watched tape on both of them, and I think they're both really good players. And I'm like,
they are.
They do have some weapons to work with. I mean, those 2 backs, you bring in Cam Coleman. I know Arch, I'm with you. I mean, Arch hadn't necessarily sold me just yet. I know he still needs to do more, but I think when you look at it, they brought in a good, tackle from Wake Forest. They do have some pieces to work with. I mean, they really do. Now, can Sark put it all together? I'm with you on that part too. It feels like Sark is always just missing like one little. I don't know, man. I feel like they never quite live up to what they should be. He hadn't shown me that yet, so I don't have that confidence in him to do that either.
And that's why I've always been so confident in DeBoer, because with all those deficiencies, right? All those deficiencies, that bad against the run, offensive line having their issues, receivers dropping it like it's hot. They still got as far as they did. I know they got blown out twice, but man, and you see coaches like LSU won the Porter Wars last year. They had the more Porter class last year. The coach got fired. Florida quit. Texas didn't live up to expectations and the money they spent. And I just think, like, even last year, everybody hyping up Clemson. They struggled against the run the year before. The quarterback was average on a good day. And guess what happened this past season? They still couldn't stop the run. The quarterback was still average at best. And they all came back to school. So I just think, like with Texas, the heat is on Sark. And we got to also have chemistry as well once you start bringing in all these different people at high salaries. And here's the other dynamic. Because you can speak on this because you played recently. And let's say that was NIL, right? You've been busting your hump for 2 years developing the program, and they brought in some outside guy at your position, more money than you, who didn't go through those wars. And you may be better than him. That's a locker room dynamic that some of these teams have to consider as well, because they always say they can't fool the players. You can't fool them.
Nope.
You gotta know who's
that is a real thing, and that's a real thing. I mean, and that's why I think you do see sometimes there are some guys that are in your program, and listen, they're not dumb. And the other thing people have to remember is, I mean, agents talk, right? So their agent is going to know probably what another agent's guy had gotten, and listen, that's why it's such a mess right now, because that is a very good point. And unfortunately, you can't sit there and afford to pay everybody, even the guys that you want to, especially when you're like, all right, we had no choice, right? Like if you need a tackle, if the market for a tackle is one price, even if that guy's not the best player, unfortunately, that's the market value to go get a guy like that out of the portal. So that's a great point that you bring up. Smitty, I appreciate that. I hope you enjoy your 80-degree weather, brother. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. I take this off the air. These salaries might need to be public knowledge. That is something that we're missing. Let's see what the numbers really are. But hey, you have a good one.
You're talking about for the players?
Yeah, these supposed money they're getting should be public knowledge.
That would stir up the nest, man. You too, Smitty. You definitely have a good one as well, man. That would stir up the hornet's nest. So That would be quite an issue. But like I said, man, these agents and people talk. So guys have an idea on what other people are getting. Plus the players talk too, man. That said, we got to hit this top of the hour break, but we'll continue to talk right here on the Miller's Edge. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we go back to the phone lines, Free for All Friday. We're talking about this whole Hollywood Smothers report. Is Texas better equipped than Alabama in 2026? That's how Hollywood Smothers feels. Want to get y'all's thoughts on it. We'll do that when we come back right here. Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
Welcome back to
Making high numbers through NIL in terms of yeah, I mean that's what they're doing now. That's how they're getting around the whole revenue share thing. A lot of it's still coming in the form of quote unquote NIL. But in terms of like what guys get, I mean they get paid on like a monthly basis. So guys know. I mean, they're not you can get in trouble for talking about how much you get paid. You can get in trouble. Not like within the school, like the schools and the collectives, they don't like that's a big rule. It's a big no-no. You're not supposed to talk about that because obviously it would lead to some issues within the locker room. In terms of like people finding out about numbers, I mean, like I said, I mean, if you know anybody that's in this agency world, you know what I mean? Like you'll know what numbers are. Cause like I said, I mean, all these agents know, right? Cause they're all trying to get their guys, their clients, the best deals. What do they put a cap, say 1 million max on paying players? Louis, I just don't know how they're gonna. I just think right now the NCAA has its hands tied, and I think the only true way to put any type of cap or serious guidelines is in the form of like federal legislation, like some type of bipartisan bill, which I know they're trying to maybe, but it's just not quite there yet. I personally feel like that's the only where are my headphones at? I think it's the only thing that's going to really be able to truly put an end to a lot of this. Are there not going to be any real changes until private equity purchases? I don't know that. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's. I was thinking about this, and we'll talk about the tampering thing here in hour number 2 in a minute. But what is interesting to me is the fact that I mean, Dabo came out with a press conference and facts. I mean, it sounded like they had all the proof. Sounds like they have the text messages and everything they need as evidence. I want to say they may be looking into it, but is there even a high confidence in that Ole Miss will be punished? Because if not, I think they have a chance to if they formally punish Ole Miss, which I'm not necessarily calling on that. I hate to be that guy, but if they do in fact do that, that to me could maybe be a step in the right direction to maybe start trying to I don't know. But I just don't see that happening because it's just been so quiet. And it just feels like the NCAA literally just has no I mean, think about it. They say Bediako, Baylor guy, whoever, oh, you can't play. You play in the pros, you can't play. Okay, we'll just go to the courthouse locally and then get it overturned. So I mean, like, what can they do? You know, I don't even know what is in the power of the NCAA at this point. Texas has to travel to LSU, A&M, Tennessee, and Missouri. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I don't know how any of these teams are really going to look or be. Even LSU. I mean, they went in on the portal. I expect them to be a solid team, but there's just no real telling. It's hard. Um, I'm just saying if you look at like some of the pieces that Texas did bring in, I mean, I do think they have um, a lot of potential, but it's just with Sark, man. Like I expect them to be good, but it's like how good do I expect them to be? Because I feel like they're always like, it's like they're always expected to do something extraordinary, but then they always fall short of it. I don't know. I mean, they had a good defense last year. I know they brought in some guys too via the portal. Definitely lost some guys as well. So we'll see. But I had to really do more of a deep dive on their roster. Comes down to him wanting to be a part of something he thinks is already built versus being a part of something that's being built. Hey, that's a really good point. I mean, that's a good way to put it. But that's what I was saying. But if you're talking about certainty, though, I can't knock a guy that feels like there's a little more certainty on the Texas side of things, given that, I mean, we're going to have literally, like, if you guys think about it, our whole offense is going to look brand new next year, damn near. I mean, from the offensive line, that's going to be brand new, except Michael Carroll, maybe, like Will Sanders, who played some. Quarterback, both guys are excellent, but they're new. They haven't started yet. And then receiver spot, you got some familiarity there. So I think really, I think the only returning starters on offense is Ryan Williams, Lottie Brooks. I guess you could probably include maybe like Daniel Hill / Kevin Riley, even though they weren't. I feel like that's still considered like a new starter because Jam was like the real starter. I feel like just was injured, but we'll include one. We'll say Daniel Hill. We'll say Daniel Hill is returning. So Daniel Hill, Ryan, Lottie, Michael Carroll. I think those are your only those are probably your only returning starters on offense. So I mean, from that perspective. But I guess if you look at Texas, I mean, they definitely just replaced a lot of guys too. I guess just the difference is they're replacing it with probably some more veteran portal guys. But we'll see. I mean, we'll definitely see. They play Ohio State again? I didn't even pull up their schedule. I feel bad we're over here pocket watching, but I'm you can't help but know. I'm just saying, like, just being honest, like, all jokes aside, like, and I know a lot of athletes, college and pro. I mean, they typically show things like this, right? But to me, that says a lot about, like, when I say character, I'm not saying the young man has bad character, but it just says about a lot about, like, there's a difference between a guy like Jam Miller, who, hey man, I want to come back to school, compete for a championship. I don't think I've seen Jam post anything even remotely. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's just like a difference versus guys that their whole deal is like this is the flashiness, and I'm not, again, to each his own, but I think it's just kind of telling when you look at stuff like that or you post stuff like that. And welcome back into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230. WTBC just got done talking with Smitty on the phone lines, 205-342-9904. We're open. About to go back to him because we got Carson up next. Just a little recap. Hour number one really spent the majority of the time, pretty much the whole time, talking about the whole Hollywood Smothers situation again. He did an interview with Pete Nakos, and this is what he had to say. NIL did not play a big factor for me. I honestly just want to win, and I feel like we're in the best position to go win it all with the talent and depth at Texas. So we're basically calling cap or fact with this whole deal. Majority of people calling cap, but I will say I think there's little validity to some of the concerns that he mentioned. But I was looking at some of the history of some of his stories, and just being transparent. And it's evident that NIL definitely played a factor. Now, I think he's downplaying it here, but I do, agree with some of the concerns. I think it's fair, but I think a lot of it is a little bit of a cap. All right, 205-342-9904. Let's see. We got Carson up next. Carson, welcome in.
What's up, man? I'm cap.
You got cap on it?
Yeah.
What about some of the points that he made? You think let me ask you this: you think everything is cap? You think some of it there's a little bit of validation?
No, not everything is cap. But when I see off-white Air Force Ones, I see a Go Yard bag, a Balenciaga hoodie, and a bust down. I'm calling a little bit of cap. One, his agent graduated from Texas, so he was probably able to get more money. Now, when you do look at the actual facts, look, that running back room was depleted at Texas. Christian Clark, and he's at South Carolina now. C.J. Baxter is at Kentucky now. Trey Wisner, their starting running back before C.J. Baxter got hurt, is at Florida State now. So their whole room was decimated and gutted completely. And so if you're looking at opportunity, well, he's going to go to a Texas running back room, and him and Rayleigh Brown are going to take most of the carries. It's just two. At Alabama, there is kind of an open competition. I mean, a lot of guys touched the ball last year, one, because we couldn't run the ball, but a lot of guys got to, were able to touch the football. And bringing in Crowell from high school, A.K. Deere another year, Daniel Hill another year, Kevin Riley another year. And Smothers would have played a role in Alabama's offense, but I think he's like, I'm trying to go to the league maybe, and I'm looking at a Texas team where they don't have running backs. They have before he signed with them, they had a freshman running back on the roster. That's it. The whole room was depleted. So there is some merit to what he's saying. I also think it's cap about like the offense. I mean, Sark was running a high school offense at some points last year, and their offensive line, they brought in the tackle from Wake Forest. They have the young kid, Trevor Gooseby, I think is his name, really good player, probably going to end up being a first-round pick when he does leave. But other than that, they're pretty young on their offensive line. Like, they're going to be playing redshirt freshmen starting at guard. They're probably going to have to play a sophomore center with a freshman who didn't play center last year. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows over there. Like, they got some stuff to figure out, even though they've paid for skill positions. So I just think, man, like when you look at the timing of when we offered him, when Smothers took his visit to Alabama, we had not yet addressed the issues in the portal yet. And I mean, we had 11 offensive linemen leave, or 10 offensive linemen leave and 11 go and 11 come in. Well, none of those guys were here yet. None of them had signed yet. We knew of, I think, Wilkin Formby entering the portal, Joe Ionata entering the portal, Caden Proctor going to the league, Brailsford going to the league, Dewberry and Gino and Jaden all running out of eligibility. And so that was the starting point, right, for when Hollywood took his visit. And so it's not complete cap in the fact that, like, Texas is more solidified. Now, are they going to be better on the offensive line? I don't know, but they did at least have not as many moving pieces. So I agree with him on that point that that's not cap. But if you don't think that the money played at least more than a 50% role in the deal being made, then you're just oblivious, Yeah.
No, I agree. That's what I was about to say. I mean, without a doubt, the money was definitely a factor, and it was a big factor. It's just I'm with you when you do compare some of these things and look at kind of where they're at in terms of their offense. I mean, like you mentioned, I didn't even hit that part in terms of the running back room itself. There's some validity to what he said, but it just doesn't help his case when you're seeing stories of Mercedes-Benz being ready to pick up, and not just a little C class. This is an S class. You see, like you mentioned, you even hit on more than the goal yard, and I mean, I'm like, goodness gracious, man. But yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is. Let me ask your opinion on the quarterback from Duke. Now he said that Miami was the best spot to help him get to the NFL. To me, that situation's even more cap, because we know Miami. We're talking about big bucks, like at quarterback, big bucks.
Right.
What do you think about that situation?
I mean, it's hard for me to assess this without any bias, because I love Darian Mensah as a prospect. I think that next year he's the number one quarterback off the board. He's a freak. He's really good, man. You should watch some of the tape that he has to offer, and just some of the throws he makes, man, are next level. I think he's like Trinidad Chambliss, except like with more football IQ, like somebody who really understands conceptual football. So it's hard for me to accurately give you the picture without bias involved, because I really think he's a great quarterback. And I actually had him in my top 5. I did a mock not on Twitter, on Facebook, a mock of my top quarterbacks if they're if they were to leave, and I had him like fourth or third, and that was at the beginning of the season. So I've been on Darian Mensah. I think he's a really, really good player. I think the money obviously played a huge factor, but also the brand name. You know, he's not at Duke. You can go play at Miami. You get access to more weapons, bigger football games, and you know they were just in the national championship, man. You know, so it's one of those things where you're getting more opportunity. You're putting yourself. Now it could hurt you too. You know, like if you go in those big moments and you don't perform, and then people change their mind about you, or they get mixed feelings about who you are as a prospect. That definitely could happen too. But I would bet on the talent if I were him, because I have seen the talent, and I kind of agree. It's like, yeah, but on the money part, I'd say it's more money than it is exposure. Yeah, I can agree to that.
Yeah, no, I agree too. Any thoughts, Carson, real quick, while we still got you on the whole tampering situation with Ole Miss? Now they've had a second team come out and basically say, yeah, they've been doing this, and I think it involved a star receiver from maybe Fresno State, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, do you feel like we see any type of action taken against Ole Miss to kind of set a precedent, or do you think it's just going to be swept under and just nobody really acknowledges it, just like we've seen a number of other times?
Well, my gut tells me that it's going to be swept under the rug. I hope that it's not, though, because and on one hand, Ole Miss is just getting the brunt of it right now. It's like flavor of the month, right? Like everybody's doing some sort of this. I mean, do you remember the stories of last year when Graham Nicholson, the kicker, that came to Bama, their head coach accused us of tampering. Now he's a kicker, right? You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't at the height of all of the money. The contract from last year compared to what they're giving some of these guys this year, especially for quarterbacks, is at a whole new level. We saw that change in 1 year. So that's probably creating the media buzz around all of this. Now, granted, Ole Miss, I mean, it's shady, man. Like, I don't know. Did you saw the story that the logs got leaked about what they were paying players, and a lot of those guys like left. This was a couple weeks ago, I guess, but a lot of the guys were pissed off in the locker room that the guys that they were bringing in are making more money than guys that were already producing for them. So it's a whole spider web of things, not just the tampering and from the coaching staff. I mean, this is a debacle, and I hope that it's done. Fair justice is done, because it just can't keep going this way. I mean, I think that's everybody's sentiment, but it can't keep being what it is and being sustainable. It's not sustainable. So I'm hopeful that at some point there will be legislation. At some point there will be some type of parameters set on what's on the landscape, but as of right now, I don't have that much hope that it's going to be dealt with fairly. I think it's just going to get swept under the rug until a later date, because we don't have a governing body that can make any decisions for themselves. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. We'll have to see, but I mean, if they do, I think it could set a precedent, but I don't know. I mean, this time there's receipts. I mean, Dabble held a whole press conference, so maybe that makes it a little bit different. To be fair, and I'll play a little snippet of the young man talking about his experience with tampering, but it goes on. I mean, like, I know people might not think it does, but everybody does it. Whether even if it's just reaching out to like a coach that someone knew from recruiting and saying, hey, just curious or what's his name, might be interested. You know what I mean? Like, people do that all the time. But I think when you go as far as, hey, man, this guy just signed with Clemson, and you're sitting there saying, hey, I got $1 million sitting on the table for you. That's
how about two? Yeah,
or two.
Yeah, I'll leave you with this. Like, the precedent being set, it just perpetuates, right? And what I mean by that is, the more you allow guys mobility and an opportunity to leave where they're at to go to a different school, you're creating more of the problem, because relationships are formed, and you're allowing these guys. And I don't want to say like, oh, these guys, you're not allowed to create relationships with whoever you want, whatever, but he goes to school X, transfers from school X to school Y, and then transfers from school Y to school Z. And then after that, all of these relationships are created to where it perpetuates all of this tampering. To where it's like, wow, there's way more people, way more contacts in my phone than what there would have been if I wasn't allowed to do this. And you're just setting up the parameters for this to continue to happen. So, yeah, I don't know. That's all I got for you. It's kind of just a weird world we're living in right now.
No, it is. It is. We'll see if anything comes from it, but I'm with you, man. Not too confident that it does. Carson, I appreciate you chiming in, man. You have a great weekend, man. Stay warm out there.
Thank you, buddy. You too.
Yes, sir. All right. We'll hit another timeout. We come back. I know we've got Matt on the phone lines. We'll hear from Matt, but we'll also hear from the Pastor Payne, who's hopping on here, get his thoughts on all this going on right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. It's a free-for-all Friday. You guys want to get in on the action, 205-342-9904. You're welcome to join in or just join us on the streams at the Miller's Edge on YouTube or Tide 100.9 on Facebook. Completely free. We just ask on your way in, hit that like button. And if you enjoy the content, subscribe. That way you can get it each and every day that we're live. All right. We're going to hit a timeout. We come back. We keep on rolling right here. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt?
All right, let's see if we can try to do this smoothly, man, because this never goes well. Remove that, hit that, hit that. He's on mute. Can you hear me? Of course he can. Let's see. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Nope. I swear, man. I swear. What did we do last time? What did we do last time? Other than him leaving. Can you hear me? All right. I'm gonna have to kick him out. I'm gonna have to kick him out. Hopefully he recognizes that I kicked him out and he rejoined. I don't know why it does that, man. I don't know, but they're about to have to give me a refund for this subscription that we pay because they should not do that every time. Look at Notre Dame and Alabama's schedule. To me, it does not compare. Yeah, I mean, we can look at it real quick. You're just saying, like, strength of schedule? I mean, without even looking at it, I could tell you Alabama's going to have a tougher schedule than Notre Dame. But Wisconsin, Rice, Michigan State, Purdue, North Carolina, Stanford. They go to BYU, who was ranked in the top, 15? Bye week, and they play Navy. They play Miami at home, Boston College, SMU, and Syracuse. So I'll be honest, Louis, I don't even think we need to I don't think we even really need to really dive deeper into that. I mean, I mean, I'll put it on the screen so you can see it if you want, but I mean, I don't even think there's any comparison. I mean, they're as of now ranked matchups would be BYU, Miami, then I think SMU technically was ranked. At least that's what it's showing right here. I don't know exactly if that's where they finished, but yeah, I mean, I'll put it on the screen for you real quick. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, you're on mute. Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, I'm eating soup.
No, you're good. I just was making sure it's fixed before we came back. Let me make it bigger for you, Louis. Yeah, that's their schedule right there, man. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, Wisconsin, Rice, Michigan State, Purdue, North Carolina, Stanford. Shout out to Stanford coach Mosley, D-line coach. BYU. Yeah, I mean, BYU and Miami and SMU are the only ranked ones. But I mean, I would argue that Notre Dame's going to be favored in every game except maybe Miami and maybe the BYU game. So your point is strength of schedule is not considered enough. But, I mean, listen, they got their little custom rule, man. As long as they're in the top 12, they're in. That's why it's kind of a joke because, I mean, with that schedule, they should be guaranteed a playoff spot. And welcome back into this free-for-all Friday edition of the Miller's Edge, Top 100.9, 1230. WTBC, we got the Pastor of Pain joining us now. We're going to go back to the phone lines here in a second. We got Matt up next. Our guy, Louie, who's always tuning in on the Facebook stream. Make sure you guys check that out as well, Top 100.9, their Facebook page. Asked about the Notre Dame schedule comparing it to Alabama, and without even going into a deep dive here, I mean, it's pretty evident it's not really even a comparison. Only ranked matchups here. You got BYU, Miami, and SMU, which I'd be shocked if they weren't favored in all of those except Miami. So, yeah, and with their new rule, which if you guys haven't heard already, their new rule is as long as Notre Dame is in the top 12, I believe, they are guaranteed a spot in the college football playoffs. Really dumb that that's even a thing. At this point, just make them join the conference. I get that history is about being independent, but I don't think you should have one rule for a team that just says, oh, as long as you're in the top 12, you're guaranteed a spot. However, I will say I'm not necessarily too mad at it because that does mean we would at least have Notre Dame getting a spot instead of a JMU or Tulane. No offense to either of those schools. But I do believe that Notre Dame is a much better choice in terms of being a competitive football team in the college football playoffs than one of those, what do they call it now, group of four? Group of five? I don't. Yeah, group of four. Yeah, but anyway,
group of five, and then power four.
Yeah. So, but I mean, they're a better option than them. But I don't know how I feel about there being an independent rule for them. That's just my take. You got an opinion on that? I mean, do you think it's fair that Notre Dame has?
No, I agree with you. I mean, the schedule is powder puff, Sherman tissue, soft, and I mean, they just might as well make reservations. If you're a Notre Dame Golden Dome fan, make reservations. I mean, they're going to go undefeated. I mean, maybe Miami is that game in South Beach. Maybe that could be a loss.
It's actually at Notre Dame. It's a home game.
Okay. So I'm gonna give them a dub there.
Wow.
SMU's play good football. So
home game for Notre
actually,
Dame.
To me, if they go, the thing with the schedule though, if they do stub their toe, as soft as it is, they should be penalized severely.
But will they though? Just imagine if they lose one game. If they lose one game,
I mean, I don't know if they will or not, but they should.
No, but I'm saying if they do, we all know they're still going to be a top 12 team. That's what's crazy. They could even probably potentially lose 2 games and still be a top 12 team.
Like they did. No. They lose 2 games with the schedule. Heck no.
Listen, a two-loss Notre Dame team would be hovering around. I'm saying they could, depending on the other teams. There is a chance. And to me, that's just kind of wild. That's just, again, I'm just going, let's pull it back up. I mean, I get what you're saying. 2-loss team is definitely cutting it a little close, but think about it. They just have to be in the top 12. You know, it's different. Matter of fact, where did they end up? Let me pull up the AP from 2025. Let me pull this up. While I do that, I'll let you enjoy a nice bite of your fruit, but let me see. Okay, final rankings for the AP. This is what you got. Indiana 1, Miami 2, Ole Miss 3, Oregon 4, Ohio State 5, Georgia 6, Texas Tech 7, Texas A&M 8, Alabama 9, Notre Dame was 10 in the final AP rankings. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, more than likely they're going to be in the college football playoff. You get what I'm saying? I mean, BYU was 11. How many did they end up losing? What, 2?
Probably 2.
Texas was a 3-loss team. Texas was a 3-loss team, and
Notre Dame, they whined so much because they didn't get into the play. They whined, but yet they lost 2 early games that cost them, and because of the weakness of the schedule, that has to mean something. When you talk about the strength of schedule, SOS, that has to mean something. So you look at Notre Dame's schedule, and you lose to soft opponents. There's not going to be a ton of ranked opponents on that schedule. And you lose to unranked opponents, there is no way. If you go 10-2 against this schedule, There's no way you should be a top 12 team unless everybody else take a deep dive. But other than that, I don't see it happening. I don't see you going 10-2 with this schedule and say that you're a top 12 team. No way. I'm not buying that Kool-Aid.
I hear you, but I'm just saying. So this was ESPN has the actual schedules next to it. Let me go back real quick. But they were 10-2 this past season. Now remember they elected not to play in a bowl game, but they ended up landing at 10. So by that metric, BYU 2-loss team as well. They ended up at 11. Texas 3-loss team was at 12. So I'm just saying. I mean, there's a good chance they find themselves in the top 12 if they lose 2 games. Which there's no way in hell they lose more than 2 games with that schedule. If they are who they say they are, and that is a competitive football team contending. So I don't know. Great point brought up by Louis. I appreciate that. That was a pretty good topic because that is a new rule that we touched on a little bit, but we didn't dive in too deep with it. But that is the rule that Notre Dame, only for Notre Dame, is called the Notre Dame rule. And it's not, but pretty much should be. They get a guaranteed spot. 205-342-9904. Real quick, I want to get Matt on here because I know he's been patiently waiting. Matt, welcome in.
I'll be right back. Yes, sir. I just wanted to make the quick point. I was hoping that Hollywood Smothers, I was hoping we may have tried a little bit harder to get him, maybe made a counter offer or something, whatever Texas had offered him. I don't know. I don't see that we have any elite backs in the room. I don't see that Daniel Hill and Kevin Riley really have elusiveness or breakaway speed. So I was hoping we would get not just a good serviceable back, but an elite back in the room. Maybe if they would have brought him in, we would have had to renegotiate deals with Daniel Hill and Kevin Riley. Maybe that's why we didn't. I don't know. So I felt like we let one slip away on that. And unless we can develop Crowell quickly, which I don't see happening because I don't know who's to blame for this, but I don't see any development with the backs. I don't know if that's the running back coach or who is responsible for that. But from the start of Jam Miller's career, I see a decline. He was better in his freshman year under Saban than he was in his last years with us. And I haven't seen any development or improvement with Daniel Hill either. So I'm not very hopeful, but I do still have faith in DeBoer if he can bring all of his guys in. I don't like that we lost 15 guys from the transfer portal. Maybe that's because they're not DeBoer's guys. So now we'll be able to keep all of the high school recruits that we're getting. But I definitely don't believe the narrative that Smothers chose Texas because they have a better chance of winning the Natty. Bama is still, in my opinion, the better program, and we went further this year, so I don't believe that.
Well, I think
really, do you really believe Bama is right now the better program? I made this comment a few weeks ago. I said that Texas is the better program, and Texas is the most complete offense. Texas has a quarterback, even though, like him or not, I'm not a huge fan of Manning, but he's played, he has experience, they have weapons, they have money, they have offensive line. So if you're looking to go to a team, if you look at Alabama and you look at Texas right now and you look at the play caller in Shark, I mean, I would say Texas has the upper hand. Now, is it a huge gap? No, not at all. But I can see him saying, I'm going to play with Arch Manning. I know the attention. Arch's going to be a Heisman hopeful. Alabama don't even have a quarterback that's, like stated as the number one guy. They're going to be going through competition again. So I can understand why a young guy would say, one, they got a lot of money. They got a lot of resources. They got a great fan base. They got a great offensive-minded coach. They got a proven quarterback that he can play in this league. And, they got an offensive line. So when you look at that, I would say that from that standpoint, Texas is ahead of Alabama, and just in my opinion,
So you're
right
you're talking
now.
about like this upcoming season, right? The problem is when you say
Yeah, this upcoming season.
yeah, I just wanted to clarify because I know when you say program, sometimes people take it as, oh, but you're talking about Alabama that won it. And my thing is,
Texas to
I
me has been equally or just as or even better than Alabama the last 2 years as a
well
program, and they
well
beat them the last when they at home. So I mean, you can't say the last 2-3 years
well
Texas hasn't been better.
the argument there would be that Alabama did have a better season than Texas last season. They advanced further. They made it to the SEC championship game. So I listen. That's why I want to make sure at least for me, this is me, my opinion. I would differentiate. I would say right now there's a little bit more confidence, maybe that's a good word, or certainty when you just look at some of the pieces they have on offense. I think that's fair to say that the outlook for Texas, at least on the offensive side, defense, I got to look a little bit more on who they have returning all that stuff. But I could see how somebody could say that Texas offense is a little bit more equipped this upcoming season. But if you're talking about last season, I mean, like the facts speak for themselves. Alabama had a better season than Texas, right? So I think it's just important how you're really looking at it, right? If you're including last year, Alabama had the better season. But if you're talking about the outlook for 2026, there are a lot of holes that are being filled on Alabama's offense. Where if you're a player and you're trying to make that decision, there is a valid reason to say, well, I have some concerns here. Just like we talked about, like the last 3 games, we only rushed for like 27 combined yards. It depends on perspective. One perspective is, hey, I can go in there and be the guy, right, and to fix that. But the other end is, well, what if that continues? What if that trend continues? Or would I rather go to Texas, where, like Carson said, the room is more open. Plus, they've got they brought the guy from Wake Forest. He was a good player, left tackle. I know they still got some youth up front, but still, like you mentioned, experienced quarterback, all that stuff. I mean, it just depends on perspective. But sorry, Matt, I didn't mean to hijack what you were saying. I hear what you're saying, and then your point about the running backs. It is kind of interesting how they've gone. I don't remember how long Coach Gillespie's been here. I know he's been here several years, but
Yeah,
I would say
2021, and
was it
we
21
haven't
that
had
he
an
got here?
elite back. We haven't had a really a good back since he got here. And
Well,
and anytime I mention this, I have a lot of pushback, but I don't know who else to blame really.
Well,
But
I'll
he's been
say
here
this.
for what, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, no, well, I'll say this. I mean, I don't think you're necessarily. I don't think it's that hot of a take for you to say that the backs over the past few years haven't been the same caliber of backs that we had seen years prior. That I mean, that you're just stating a fact because you're talking about having guys, which I mean, technically he did have Jahmyr Gibbs right in 22, who people can argue that he maybe underperformed in college, but you could argue, scheme, coordinator, some of those other things come into play. Jace McClellan was a solid back. Now, maybe not to the standard of some of the other guys from prior years, but I thought he was a pretty solid piece. Brian Robinson that was his senior year, I think, in 2021, maybe Gillespie's first year. I thought he had a really solid year. I want to say he was a 1,000-yard rusher. And then in 2023, which was Coach Saban's last year, when you had Jace, Roydell, Jam, like you mentioned, being young. I mean, we had some guys in that room, and I want to say matter of fact, I think I still have it pulled up. Let me see if I might have no, it's right here. 2023, our rushing totals. I want to say we rushed for 2,400 yards. I can't remember, who had what individually, but I want to say that was a decent year on the ground. It was really more so 2024 with Justice Haynes and Jam. I thought we would have been a lot better than we were, but unfortunately, Milrow had to be the key guy in the running game because he just was the best option. And then we all know last year was what it was. So for you to say it's kind of declined the past couple of years, I don't think I can disagree with you. Because if you just go purely based off of numbers and production, that's a fact. But how much is it on the position coach versus this new system / the coordinators that we've had and what they're trying to do with the new offense? That's a little tough to say, at least right now for me. But no, I don't think you're far off from saying that. And I'll be honest, even looking at our running back room right now, I feel like the back that we have on this roster that is the most complete guy are between the two youngest players, probably, Deere, then Crowell. Really, Crowell, I think, has the highest ceiling and most
Yeah,
potential
I
of all
agree.
the guys. But the problem is he's going to be should be senior in high school. So I'm with you. Daniel Hill,
Yeah,
I say
I
this all the
agree.
time. Daniel Hill, I like him more as a feature back. I don't necessarily like him as being like RB1, so to speak. I like him coming in and taking some carries. Riley, I actually like Riley a lot. I thought he ran the hardest out of all the backs this past year. I know he had some injuries and got passed up a little bit, but I'm excited to see his growth and development. I think you can definitely get some good carries out of him, but I still don't, between those two, I don't necessarily feel like either one of those guys give me the confidence of being like that true, 3-down back, so to speak. I feel like they're both better feature backs. This is my opinion. Not saying they can't grow into that, but yeah. So I think that's a valid concern that you have.
Yeah,
But
I
we'll
appreciate
see.
it. And,
Yeah, of course.
you
No,
know,
I appreciate the
I
phone
think our
call.
offensive line, our fixing our offensive line will definitely help.
It
And,
will.
but I agree with the guy about Texas. Texas's roster is probably a little bit better than ours. So he has a valid point there. They may have a better chance this year, but it's yet to be seen. LSU is going to have a good roster. This year is going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So
I view it like, I think there's just so much parity right now. It's hard to even say. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I think right now you're just looking at, I mean, you're saying LSU, A&M, Georgia. I'll even throw Alabama. I know we're really young in there, but I still think if we can put the pieces together, we're right up in there. I think you just have it's muddied up with a bunch of different teams right now, Texas included.
I think you're just highly optimistic. I think if you're being real, I mean, Alabama has been on a serious decline. I mean, you alluded to the fact that even back Nick Saban's last year, although they made it to playoffs and lost to Michigan, but this team, especially in key areas, the trenches, the offensive and defensive lines have been on a major decline. And to me, the program, as we once knew it, has been amazingly demised. And I know you want to have a positive there, if we can get this and if we can get that, and if they do this or if they do that, listen, man, Alabama to me is in trouble. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't feel good at all about a quarterback who has no burn, right? I don't feel good. You have to have a trigger man to win at a high level. I mean, look at Indiana. It's proven. Look at Miami getting there. It's proven. If you're going to play at the highest level in college football, you best have a trigger man. And they may have a ceiling. They could be good, but we don't know. And on top of that, you have an offensive line has been revamped that you're hoping that these guys can come in and play. So when you got those two critical position groups, offensive line and the quarterback, who is should be the most important and is the most important position, there's question marks. So there's nothing in me right now in almost end of January, almost out of January, that could say I have a hope that Alabama is going to be a top echelon program. I don't today. Now, getting spring ball, we start to see some of these transfer portal guys, and maybe maybe they've upgraded, but we don't know. So if you say that they should be, that should say I'm extremely hopeful as a fan. But if you're being real as an analyst, you looking at Alabama like, man, I don't know. All I can tell you is the last two of the last three games I've seen them play, or 2.5 games, they were dominated in the most critical areas of football, offensive line and defensive line. They
do
looked
you
like
think the team
they were
kind of takes
playing
on the
JV
personality of the coach?
Yes. And I've been saying that every player, every team takes on the persona of their head coach. And if you got a soft-minded coach, you're going to have a soft-minded football team. That is fact. I've played this game a
It
lot of
doesn't
years
seem like
with
when
some of the
Alabama
best coaches. Right.
When Alabama
So
hires
I'm just
a
saying.
beta male, it doesn't really seem to work out. And alpha male is usually better for Alabama when you're recruiting in-state Alabama players.
That's all I'm saying. You're right.
Well, Matt, we're
You're right. I mean, listen,
thanks for taking my call.
bless you, my
absolutely. I
brother.
appreciate it, Matt. Thank you.
I'm just saying, I think Alabama's in trouble. I think.
Well, let me
they
offer a little pushback here. Let me offer a little pushback, right? Because listen,
push it back,
everything
there,
you
buddy. Push it back.
no, I'm saying, listen, everything you've acknowledged or everything you've said, I've acknowledged, right, of being, valid concerns, right? Like there's no denying that we've showed up and we've lacked physicality. We've shown up and not looked to be as prepared as we should be. We've shown up in games where we should be, the dominant team, and that just doesn't happen. That's not the case. Like those are all valid, and you're right. We did gut the offensive line, and we are only returning maybe 3 true starters on offense. There's a lot of new faces. So, like with what you're saying, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying it's wrong, but what I'm saying is the way I view it is a lot of these other SEC teams, they also have a lot of new faces. They also have shown to have a lot of. I mean, even like look at LSU, the talent that they've had over the last couple of years, and then look at how they end up turning out, right? So all I'm saying is, for me, all that said, even with Alabama having some of those shortcomings, we still were able to make an SEC championship game and make a college football playoff appearance. We won the first game, and then we saw what happened after that. But all I'm saying is they do typically seem to find some type of way. Now you're right. You are leaning more into that hopeful perspective of, hey, if these things happen, yes, this can happen, but it's a big if. Like these have to happen. Like if Alabama upgraded up front and plays much more physical on the line of scrimmage, can establish that running game. One of the 2 young quarterbacks can live up to the expectations that not only this coaching staff, but even everybody around the country expects out of these players. If those things happen, yeah, I think Alabama can be right back similar to what they were this past season in contention to play in the
It's
SEC
kind of like
championship.
couple of songs come to mind. And I got a little bit of a cold sinus infection right now, but it goes something like, if ifs and buts was candy and nuts.
I already knew it was coming. But
Of a Merry Christmas.
but let me ask you this real quick before we
And
hit
then
this timeout.
also,
Let
the
me ask you
second
this. Let me
song
ask
would
you this.
be, "Oh, we're halfway there, and Christian Miller is living on a prayer." I mean, right now the Bama fans are living
I'm
on a
not.
prayer.
Y'all know me. I'm honest. I mean, I'm not saying I'm living on a prayer. I said my outlook right now, like from where this roster stands right now. I said like I think in majority, I think when you get the SEC media days, I think everybody's going to have Alabama as probably around a 9-win football team. Like I've
They
said
get
that.
your Wi-Fi.
Me,
I think you're on Cricket Wi-Fi today.
I'm not on Cricket Wi-Fi. That's yours, brother. That ain't us. That ain't us.
No,
That's
it's not
on
mine.
you.
It's not
You
mine.
sitting in the truck.
You're freezing up, not me.
No, you sitting in the truck. Listen, all I'm saying is it's not name, this is my question real quick before we go to break. Name another team in the SEC that you feel like does have that type of outlook where you really feel like, oh, they're a definite contender. I mean, I'm sure there's probably 1, maybe 2, but really, right now, with all the turn, like think about it,
Answer
LSU.
on the
There's
other side of the break because I can't hear you. How you say
all right,
name
we'll
a
do
team?
that.
That's
When we
all I
come
heard.
back, we'll answer that question right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place.
All right.
Yeah, and your screen freezes up, and then your picture goes off.
Hold on. Yeah, it's all just opinion. No one knows anything. Even if someone were to say Alabama's going to be 12-0, I mean, that's all just all this is opinion based. We all know that. But to be fair, I mean, if you go off of what kind of what's the deal, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
Hey,
his
Kale, I
wife.
missed your call. I'm doing a podcast with my son. You good?
Hold on, let me mute you real quick. What was I getting at? Anyway, yeah. Again, no one's saying, "Oh, whatever we say is fact or it's going to happen." To his point, though, I mean, it is a fact. Anytime a team, like again, like remove Alabama's logo from it and just slap any other SEC team logo on there, and then you say, all right, they're replacing 4 of their 5 offensive linemen. They have a new quarterback. Both have really good potential, but it is a new quarterback starting with the new offensive line. We saw how the running back room looked last year, and there's nobody new except Crowell, who is a guy who spoke. He's reclassed, right? Um, I think it's fair if people are kind of having the perspective that he has, because I understand his perspective. Hell, half the time I include that into what I say. All I'm saying is I do feel like there is a chance where if you look at this team, where if it does end up playing out well with some of the changes that they've made, I very much could see them finding themselves in a similar deal as this past season, meaning, competing for that SEC championship. But again, I think a lot of things do have to go well. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and sound delusional. You guys hear me say it all the time. I still stand firm where I say that right now, without seeing any of these new guys and knowing all the turnover, I mean, I do feel like, and combined with the schedule that we do have, I describe 2025 Texas.
What was your question before, so I can think about it?
Oh, the question was, to be fair, at this point in the conference, I mean, what team could you look at that you would say you have a much higher outlook? You know what I mean? That you don't have a number of
Questions.
I guess of those same kind of similar concerns. Because I'll be honest with you, I mean, even like I like a lot of the pieces that Texas added, but I don't have
Texas,
the
LSU.
crazy thing is even with some of the weapons and the resources that they've had, they look at how they fare. They can't live up to it either.
Georgia.
So I'm not
I
putting a whole
think
bunch of stock into them.
Georgia's going to be picked the favorite again.
But what does that tell you though? Because they're replacing a lot.
Yeah, but they got a quarterback. They got a plethora of running backs. They got a really nice receiving group, and their young defense that played not good early on, but you saw what they
got
did.
a lot better this year.
Right, and they all going to be back. So Georgia's going to be a dog, no pun intended. They're going to be some dogs coming next year. So
Hold on. And welcome back into this Free for All Friday edition, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. The question that I asked for the Pastor of Pain was, and to be fair, I think a lot of the concerns that he's listed are valid. I think you're going to hear a number of analysts say the same things. I mean, it makes sense. With the football team, we talked about, the trench play has to improve. You gutted it. So you're kind of relying on that to be the case, but there's just no guarantee. Nobody knows. If it is improved, then I do think Alabama is in much better shape. But if the changes that they made up front aren't enough, which I'll be honest, I don't have enough to go off. Like if you went and got Jordan Seaton and an All-American guard and this and that, it's a little bit different, right? But with there being so many unknowns, I don't think anybody can say for sure that it's necessarily going to be an upgrade
the song of the year would be, "Oh, we halfway there. Oh, Bama's living on a prayer." Listen,
but my question though is, I think
Georgia. No pun intended, dogs. Them dogs going to be picked to win the SEC again. They got a defense that's returning a plethora of starters that got great experience, and they are good. They return a quarterback in Gunnar Stockton, who's played meaningful minutes now. He's got a lot of experience under his belt. Unlike Alabama, they got running backs, that can tote the mail, as they say down south. Unlike Alabama, they got receivers, right, that can play, that has played Georgia. So when you talk about what that one team, Georgia, and I will go and say LSU. Because why? The guy told Lane Kiffin, "You have an open wallet. You can go sign the best of the best along with those great recruiting because, they recruited great players, right? And so now you're going to add to that with the play calling of one Lane Kiffin. Watch out. Go Tigers. I mean, so that's all
But
I'm
I
just
feel like
saying.
but wouldn't they be under the dynamic of a lot of if though? I mean,
No,
that's a
they're
lot of
going
new
to be good.
faces.
They're going to be good.
No. I think they're
listen,
going. Listen. I think they're going to be good. But I'm just saying. But doesn't that qualify as a lot of ifs? Georgia. Listen.
no.
Now that I think about it,
Alabama
Georgia
has
does
a
have a lot of
lot
good
of ifs.
returners. Georgia did lose some players, but they've got a number of good young players that you're right. They got a lot better as the season went on. So I'm not going to argue that one so much. But I mean, LSU they killed it in the portal. They got some dudes, but I mean that's kind of you're hoping all that comes together. I mean, year one with a whole new staff. I know it's a good staff.
A
And a
lot
lot
of
of
new
good players,
coaches in the SEC this year.
but what happened
No
with
Florida and Kentucky and even now. Okay, if you want to put LSU in there, but this Lane Kiffin, the dude's going to win. You know that they got money. They're going to win. I was talking to a basketball coach here at the University of South Carolina the other day. Listen, I went to the Florida South Carolina game the other night. It was embarrassing, no doubt. They lost by 48. But one thing that you could see, Christian, that one team had a lot of NIL money versus the basketball team that was at the bottom of the SEC. You know that team was at the bottom? That's South Carolina men's basketball at the bottom. And if you don't have the means, the money to upgrade your team, I don't care what great coach you call, bring in. Yeah, scream for a new coach. Lamont Paris can coach. Lamont Paris knows what he's doing. But if you don't give him the necessary funding to go out and get guys that are comparable, that can play, listen, man, you're not going to win. And where Florida got trees everywhere that can run, that can shoot threes, that can dunk. You saw two different teams. Team that has money versus team that didn't have money. That's South Carolina. It ain't the coach. It's the fact that if you don't give a team today money in college, they're not going to win. And Alabama losing out to the better players, they can cry. Dabo, you can cry. It don't matter. If you don't pay these kids, they are going to take their tails somewhere else. And that's a sad thing. And that's why I said it's not college athletics anymore. Can't call it amateurism no more. This is a pro sport. And I say all that to say, Alabama, if you're going to get back to what you used to be, I know the mystique is there a little bit. But if you want the best players, you better start paying them because they're going to choose Texas. They're going to choose LSU. They're going to choose other places that can write the check.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you're not wrong on that front, but to be fair, I mean, Alabama, they do recruit well in high school. I mean, I don't think we necessarily
But that ain't the
pay as
route no
much.
more. High school isn't the route no more because you don't have time and you don't want to depend on an 18-year-old to come into your program that you got to put him in a tutoring session to hope he gets better. You can't bring an 18-year-old and start him at left tackle against a 25-year-old from Indiana and say, go block him. That's the difference. This is why, let's just be honest. This is why Indiana is the national champions. Because the guy did it the right way. The guy went and got all these old, gray-bearded people like me that's played all these football games, stronger, mentally more tough, and they went out there and they balled out. Miami had a lot of 5 stars, 50-something, and 4 stars, 50-something. Listen, man, high school isn't the way no more. Now, if you got some position where you can say, I got time for this guy to develop, then yes. But you got South Carolina took all their money and put it in the portal. That's what they had to do because Shane Beamer is on life support as it pertains to head football coach.
But y'all have been doing that, and it hasn't translated either. So
Yeah, but no, they did. They
story.
did a lot. They did a lot more this year. I promise you, a lot more this year. They spent money. Last year, they didn't have guys. They had a bunch of, catch this, young guys on the offensive line with 5 stars, 4 beside their name. Guess where they are right now? Gone. Cut. Released. Right? Because nobody is going to sit back and wait anymore. This is a Janet Jackson microwave society, college sports, especially football, men's basketball. Nobody's going to wait to develop kids no more. They got to go down to the group of five. They got to go down to Wofford and, North or South Alabama and get developed by some coaches and then get themselves back into the portal and say, hey, I'm ready. And it's unfair to those coaches because they lose their best guys from the smaller schools because they can't pay them. So this is a screwed up, messed up college system, man. I'm just telling you. And Alabama better get it right fast. And you better stop losing these key guys. I mean, if I'm them, I'm opening my checkbook to go get Seton. You know it's an NFL guy. You need that. And you got young quarterbacks. Don't let somebody else beat you. Don't let money be the reason you lose that guy. You know you need a running back. Don't let money be the reason. And so, you got to be able to spend it. And if you think that, hey, I'm going to be able to coach him up in my system and blah, 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 that used to work, but it does not work anymore. And that's why I say Alabama. As a fan of Alabama, they're in trouble
Well, I
because
think it
they
consists of
show
a
they're ready to match up when it comes to dollars and cents.
well, I think it needs to be a balance. I mean, Miami, they spend a lot of NIL, but don't get it twisted. They also recruit and they develop, right? So I don't know. It really, I think sometimes we're putting a little bit too much emphasis on Indiana. I mean, listen, they won it this past year. They were an older team. So be it. I know Ohio State didn't win before and they put a lot of money in it, but I still think you have to have some type of system in terms of developing guys. Because I'll say this: I mean, we've had a number of young players that have shown a lot of promise to where I think even going into next season, right? I mean, I think some of these young guys will be paying dividends. Is like you said, as long as you retain them, which we've done a pretty good job of retaining a lot of the more recent players. And I think if you can find a way to then pair, I agree with you on this. You do need guys like a guarantee, like, hey, we have a hole here. You can't be cheap in certain aspects. I'm not saying that's what we were
Right.
doing, but I'm saying in general. If you compare that, I think that's the best system. Get the good, talented young high school guys that you can develop, guys like Xavier Brown, London Simmons, guys you can build around. And then when you do have holes like we had this past year, you have to go all in on those holes and get those true plug and play guys. And I think if you have that type of balance, that is the recipe, in my opinion. That's similar.
Um,
That to me, that feels kind of what Miami
Listen,
was doing.
it's like
I mean,
now you got to
even
have
Georgia.
the
Look at Georgia. Georgia developed a
right.
lot of young guys, but then they went out and got guys like skill position players that they knew they
Right.
needed,
That's what you
and
got.
it
Nick
worked. So
Saban says it best. You have to be able to be good at plugging and playing them. Right. You got to go get the right guy. When you got key positions like left tackle, rushing defensive end, quarterback, those key and very valuable positions, you got to open up the wallet and then build around them through recruiting and through lower level transfer portal guys, older guys like Indiana. That's all I'm saying. You can't go out there and think I'm gonna win because I got a roster full of 5 stars and 4 stars. You're not
no,
gonna
no,
win.
I agree.
You're not
No,
going to
I'm
win
with you.
because you're going to lose games to older, veteran teams. That's why I said just watch college basketball. That's why the lower level teams, when they get into the tournament, they can beat those highly fire ranked. They got all these McDonald All Americans and all of that. Oh, whoopity freaking do. And they go
All
in the
right, well,
tournament when they play other and they get their tail kicked. That's what I'm talking about.
real quick, because we're running out of time, and I got to make sure that we finish everything up. Got to give a shout out to our guy Adam at Lamparello Law. Remember
Lamparello.
Lamparello Law works with high
I got
school,
you, Doc.
college, and graduate students on academic and career success, providing mentoring, exam and test taking preparation, subject matter mastery, application strategy, personal statements, resumes, long-term academic and professional planning. Adam also provides legal representation for students, faculty, and athletes in academic misconduct matters, First Amendment cases, name, image, and likeness, like we're talking about, and all criminal defense matters, and is known for representing his clients with genuine care, passion, and relentless advocacy. Again, 201 317 5115 is Adam's number. You can reach him there. Lamparello-Law will be the website when it's finalized. Adam at lamparello-law.com is the email. We're going to stay on stream for a
Wait a
minute.
minute. What's the First
Close
Amendment?
out. I'll get to that in a second, but big shout out to Adam and all of our partners here on
Is
the
that
Miller's Edge.
about
We got to
ice?
get out of here.
Fight
And we'll
nice.
be back Monday right here, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
Lamparello!
Appreciate that, Chase Reed. Sorry about that. I was trying to get all that in. I meant to do it earlier, but we just kind of got tracked. Wait, hold on. I think I missed a super chat earlier. Super chat from Matt, man. Thank you so much. He says when DeBoer is excited about something, be worried. That's funny. Another one from Matt. He says hormone replacement therapy for the kids. That's yeah, they ain't letting that slide. Those drug tests will definitely catch all that.
What you
So
said,
thanks so
hormone
much,
what?
Matt. Replacement therapy.
Yeah, I might need some help.
Well, it's a lot different than college student athletes. Again, shout out to Lamprola Law, man. I hate that I had to rush that in there. But to be fair, no, we're officially starting February, so this was just extra, but I wanted to make sure I was showing Adam some love, man. I need to get his thoughts on the whole Bediako thing, man. I need to ask him that. But here's my point real quick. To a lot of what you were saying. I personally, like, first of all, Indiana spent allegedly about what we spent. It's just how they spend it, and I think it all goes back to what Coach Saban was saying. It doesn't matter how much you spend on these to get these players. If they're not the right players, they don't fit. They're not. So I don't think that's the whole deal, right? I mean, Ohio State had a roster with a lot of players this past season, a lot of good recruits. I mean, listen, I mean, at the end of the day, you still need to have good coaching too. I feel like we're starting to lose sight of that. You know what I mean? Like, you do need to get the right pieces, but
So you
don't
don't
get
think
it
Indiana
twisted.
had good coaching?
That's the point I'm making. I think you're putting too much emphasis on just, oh, well, they were older players, and that's. I'm saying, dude, look at their coaching, their scheme, like everything they were doing fundamentally sound. Like, yeah, they had older guys, and that does give you an advantage, but don't get it twisted, man. Like what they were. I need to get John on here. I'll get John. We'll talk to John, their running backs coach, Miller, their running backs coach. Now that they're done, but I hate to say it, but the problem with that is I can't sit here and say that I have the most confidence in. I can't put our coaching staff on the same level as the job that I just saw at Indiana. I haven't seen that from our staff personally. I'm just being completely honest. So that's the other part of it. I mean, Coach DeBoer mentioned it. Somebody sent him a study that showed that older teams, especially in the postseason, typically perform better than younger teams. And we're going to have another younger team this year. So that all goes hand in hand. So, I mean, like, your point about having concerns about Alabama's upcoming season, I mean, they're valid. I share a lot of those concerns, but I also know that, number one, there's not like in my opinion, I don't think any of these teams are truly dominant. And I think if Alabama can figure out some of that stuff, I think they'll still be a top 4, top 5 SEC football team. And if you're in that realm, I think you're always going to be competing for that position to go to the conference championship game and find yourself in the playoffs. But you give Bama a B+ in the portal, they address needs. I said B-, and I'll be honest with you, I think that was probably like me being pretty nice. I think B- is about as high as I can go, only because we address needs, we filled holes, but I just look at what we lost and what we replaced it with, and without seeing a lot of those guys and only going off of the tape that I saw, I can't necessarily sit here and say that I felt we truly upgraded in a number of positions. I know Coach DeBoer was saying that, and he's the head coach. I know he's had a lot of time to watch those guys. I trust what he's saying, but I'm just saying from my opinion, from what I watched, and I'm a little bit more of a defensive-minded person. I can't quite say that we upgraded just because we upgraded in length and size. Maybe I don't know if those guys, in my opinion, are better football players than what we lost. Just so you guys know, I know y'all's comeback to him was always like, "Oh, well, what about your Gamecocks?" Listen, he calls it how he sees it with them, so that's not like a comeback for him, unfortunately. I wish it was. I wish it was a comeback for you guys, but I'm just telling you guys, it's almost a waste of energy with him because if he will sit there and say the Gamecocks suck, like he will. You know what I mean?
Listen,
Like
we went 4-8 last year, and they brought in all these transfer portal guys. They weren't good fits at all. Gone. Most of them gone. All of them gone. Then this year, they have spent so much money. First of all, Kendall Browse, new offense. I like that hire. the offensive line coach as well from TCU. Matter of fact, our AD just came from TCU, new AD, so figure that one out. They go to Penn State, they get the running backs coach, and they get the linebackers coach from Penn State. And then they spent buku monies on all these transfer portal guys. And they got some good ones that they beat some other good teams. But that don't mean a hill of beans to me. You know, what's going to mean something? You can't go spend that kind of money, bring in all these coaches and players, and you bet, as they said in the country, you bet not go 5-7, 6-6, and spending that kind of money, it ain't gonna work. So,
well, what's your outlook on them?
it's like I said with Bama, I don't know. I know
No,
their
but I'm
schedule.
saying like just like if you had to, like if you had to, I know you don't like predicting. I hate predicting, but I mean, host a show,
I
so I
mean,
mean that's part
I
of
look
it.
at their schedule, Christian. It's going to be a top 5 party schedule in the country. You go
South
look at it.
Carolina. Let me pull it up real quick. Let me
You
look at
look
it
at
real
it.
quick. Let me pull it up real quick. But so you're saying, I mean, even with all the spending that they did, you're saying what, maybe
I'm saying they
9-3
better not go
at
5-7,
best?
6-6. I
You
don't think
think
Shane
Shane
Beamer's
Beamer's
going to
still
have a
there if they
job.
go? You
No.
think if they go 8-4, he's still there?
Yes.
Really? After
It's
all that
South
you said they
Carolina.
just spend.
It's South Carolina.
But I'm saying
The
I mean, if they're
expectations are
spending that,
not the same.
I get that. But you just said they're
But I
spending
mean,
that.
but if you're going to keep guys there, right, and you go 8-4 with that schedule, that's a pretty daggone good year, because if they go 9-3 with this schedule, they're probably going to make the playoffs.
Wait, hold on. So you said this is a top 5 schedule. Hold on now. So y'all got Kent State, Townsend,
The early part is
Mississippi
easier.
State. Hold on. Alabama, you play us for.
Okay, that's an easy one.
Kentucky, Florida, Tennessee, Oklahoma, A&M, Arkansas, Georgia, Clemson. I mean, I'll give you Georgia, I'll give you A&M, I'll give you Oklahoma and Alabama. So y'all got 4 tough games. I mean,
At
Tennessee,
Clemson,
we'll see.
Tennessee's going to
Brother,
be hard.
you just were talking about how trash Clemson was. Come on, man. I mean, I know they
No,
normally
they
have
were
some good
last
players,
year,
but
but I know going up to Clemson for a state, right, like going to Auburn, they can be trash, but you're not just going to go down there and win.
yeah,
That's a hard game.
but you wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're
That's
saying,
going to
but
be that's going to be a tough schedule. However you want to spin it. First, they should get
it,
4
it
wins early.
it's tough. It's tough, but I don't know if it's. It's tough. I mean,
Well,
look,
I will
Georgia,
say this.
Oklahoma, A&M, and
Yeah,
Alabama. I mean, but I don't know if
it's a
it's
hard schedule.
top 5 though.
I'll watch it. I promise you it will be. But here's the thing. They went out there and said, hey, we need all this NIL money to get players. Okay, you got them. Now you can't go out there and talk about 6-6. You got your offensive coordinator. Now you can't go out there. You better bring some heat. Hold on, I'll be right back.
All right. Let me read some of these comments. Rusar or Yanzi, unfortunately. Yanzi took starting spot and Quay didn't like the way he was used. James left because his best friend, he left because he could be used better too. Yeah, I mean, there's one about money. It was more so, I mean, the system, how they're being used in the system. But Quay was not about him. It's not losing the job to Yanzi. I keep saying this, guys, like, you play with multiple edge guys, even if there's just one wolf on the field. It's no different when me and Anthony both played, and it was, we play with one jack unless we went nickel rabbits, and of course dime rabbits are both on the field on 3rd down. It's just no different than having, a 2-back system. No running back just leaves when you're rotating 2 backs. That's the edge spot is like that. So, yeah, it was more so based off of the staff in the system. And we're just being honest here. That's it wasn't about money.
My point with Alabama is they got to get those top-notch players in the portal. They got to find out the right guy. I call them P&Pers, plug and play. Guys that you ain't got to worry about developing. You know they can get in there and crush it, right? You can put them at tackle, or you get the rush guy. He can get to the quarterback. He changes the defense right away, or a corner that can shut down, or back. Like, you got to go get the top. You Alabama. You should be one of the top 3 teams in the country, for whatever it may be, 4 or 5 teams that can battle with anybody when it comes to paying players. right? You should be able to do that. Don't come on here crying and complaining because he changed his mind. Well, did you call that man? Did you go say you? They'll tell you. They're gonna tell you what they need. Now, if you want to, nickel and dime, then take that risk. But you let a guy like that leave your facility where you can close the deal and go to Texas. I blame the coaches.
Well, this is what I did learn because I wanted to make a correction because I was under the impression because I even asked agents, I asked people involved in NIL, and there are a number of documents that you can sign. You can enroll in class, you can do all that stuff. But allegedly, the one thing like the revenue share contract, allegedly, was according to Andrew Bone, and I take his word because I mean he's heavily involved in stuff. But it is kind of weird that there's conflicting stuff that agents themselves told me they weren't really familiar with that themselves, and even people that are involved in NIL at SEC schools, like they told me in terms of the whole signing on campus thing, they weren't really too sure exactly in terms of that whole deal. But Andrew Bone claims that's the one thing that you can sign everything else except like the revenue sharing thing. I think you have to allegedly do it off campus or I don't know. So going off of that, I will say, I mean, I don't put as much on the coaches. And I know some people are like, "Oh, what are you going to do? Hold them hostage?" I'm like, "No," but there's things that you can no different than a car dealership. Like car salesmen, their job is to get you to sign, right? They don't want you to leave the dealership. And there's a number of tactics and things that they can do. That's all I was kind of saying. I thought we probably could have done a little bit more. Whatever. Who knows and who cares? Honestly, I don't even care at this point. But I will say that is the reason why I can't go over a B minus for our portal grades, is because to your point, and I know that it's very scarce in the portal. There's not even that many really good players, contrary to what people believe. I understand how it works. I know that majority of the reason the players are in the portal is because their ass couldn't play at the previous school. That's the reality of the portal. However, there are some guys in there that can play. And I think when there are those types of players, I'm with you. You do have to do whatever. So, for example, like Jordan Seaton, that would have been amazing because you just know we needed that. But the reality was probably wasn't going to happen. I mean, he was charging 100K a visit. LSU and Texas, I think, were the main ones, and it was pretty clear LSU was, and I think Oregon as well. LSU was probably going to be the team to beat. Well, that's that. But there's also like Texas signed the guy from Wake Forest. I mean, he's a guy with starting experience, I think all conference stuff like that. Like if we were to land a couple of those players at critical positions, and the keyword critical positions, that would have made me feel a little bit more confident, but the fact was the number of guys that we got out of the portal, most of them were just depth pieces from where they came from. And so it to me, I'm with you. I think you utilize the portal to get guys that for two things. Guys that are gonna plug and play right away and be upgrades, or you get guys for bodies because you just need more depth. We checked off the depth thing, but we didn't really check off the piece about like guaranteed sure starting guys, in my opinion. That's just my opinion based off of the tape that I watched. Not saying they can't be good players, just like you were really high on the South Carolina defensive end. I'll be honest with you. I thought he was a decent player, but I didn't feel like he was necessarily, to me, he felt more like a depth piece. Take it easy, G Bama. But like you said, I mean, at the end of the day, we'll know more later on. This is all just where things are at right now. I mean, hell, Alabama could come out of spring looking like the team to beat in the SEC. You just never know. So glad he didn't stay. Who? Talking about Smothers? I mean, from an ability standpoint, I think, his ability definitely would help his football team. Yeah, I mean, of course you don't know until they play games, Smitty, but at the same time, I mean, like, we can't just act like there's no way you can at least watch a guy and see kind of what kind of player he is, right? I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you, like, that's why I hate doing not even score predictions, but like season predictions or this and that. We just do it. I do it at least because I've learned to have to do it. Everybody does it, especially sports media. It's part of it. Um, but let's not act like you can't sit there and look at a free agent class in the NFL and kind of get an idea on like, oh, well, they got these guys from free agency. And that doesn't always line up, but um, I think there is some stock to put into something. And if anything, why not listen? At least on our end, we watch actual tape. We don't just pull up highlights or stats. I'll speak for myself. I watch tape on these players. I don't even know if like the people that do the portal rankings do that. So I mean, I do trust a little bit of what what I see on tape. I'm not saying that's exactly what we're going to get out of these guys, but I do take pride in that. But you never know. Sometimes, I mean, change of scenery, new system, a lot of those things can make a big difference. So you just got to hope that that's the case. Yeah, I mean, but if we're going to say character matters, I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, we've had a number of guys on teams that um that I mean that are rocking the same stuff, posting the same stuff. I mean, that's just unfortunately that's the world that we live in. I mean, you're not going to reality is that there's not going to be just a bunch of guys that just don't really care about the flashiness of things. I mean, that's almost like a little bit more of a rarity nowadays. Your dad's telling the truth at this point in time on paper. We're mid until we prove otherwise. I mean, and that's why at the end of the day, it's just on paper. But I don't know. Like the more I've had time to think on, I mean, because I had a lot of the same feelings that he had initially in terms of like where we're at as a football team. But then the more I started thinking, like, and 'cause I'm really focused on the. I'll be honest, the front seven to me is my biggest concern. I know he mentions like the quarterbacks not having experience down the stretch. I do think that could be something, right? Because we just know experienced quarterbacks typically, not saying it's a guarantee, but typically perform a little bit better when it comes to postseason play. I mean, that's just a fact, right? Like, everybody likes going off of numbers and stats and analytics. So those are the analytics. However, I like our two quarterbacks. Um, so that's not my my biggest concern, guys. And this is what I think. If anybody's kind of questioning why somebody might have doubts about Alabama, I mean, this is when they put it into this perspective, I think anybody can understand this math. Everybody can agree that Alabama's biggest detriments and their issues over the last couple of years have been the front seven. Well, I'll say the trenches, right? Offensive line play, arguably the front seven on the defensive side of the football hadn't necessarily been. I mean, the secondary this past year was one of the best in the country. Front seven play got better as the season progressed, but we know those have been probably the main contributing factors to Alabama not really performing at its peak. We've had plenty of skill guys. We've had listen, whether people agree or not. I mean, Jalen Milroe was a good quarterback, and he proved you can win football games with Jalen Milroe being a dual threat quarterback. That's a fact. Jalen Milroe left here more accomplished than Ty Simpson. That's a fact, and proved that you could win an SEC championship game and potentially, I mean, again, they lost against Michigan, but damn sure could have won that football game and should have with them at quarterback. That said, quarterback has not been the major issue that everybody has made it out to be. That's a fact. Y'all are more than welcome to call in Monday and argue with me about that. But I'm just spitting facts here. We've been saying this. It hasn't been quarterback. Jalen Milroe proved that you could win with him. That's a fact. Ty Simpson for a period of time, he played as one of the best quarterbacks in the country, right? This past season. You can win games with Ty. Ty's a damn good quarterback. That's a fact. Though that's not been the problem with Alabama. The problem and skill guys. Everybody bragged about our receiver room going into this year. Of course, we start getting real once the radio goes off, but it is what it is. The receiver room. Everybody said we had the best receiver room since 2020, 2021, the rideouts. Preseason, I was saying, whoa, pump the brakes a little bit. People probably thought we were hating, but I was just saying, let's just let it play out. Because I mean, on paper, we look great, but I got to see it. Ended up being a good room, and I still don't think they're the main issue. But what I'm saying is, if you really get to the root of the problem, the root is up front. Now, how does that translate to this year and outlook on Alabama? Alabama gutted the whole offensive line and got rid of the coach. On one end, you could say, "Oh man, it's going to be better. It can't be worse." But then when you really dive into who's replacing the players we just lost, on paper right now, it's way too soon to sit there and say, with that being the case, a whole new offensive line unit and the reinforcements that they brought in weren't those, you know, plug and play guarantee type dudes. It's way too hard to sit here and say that, oh, Alabama's going to be expected to be a top contender. That's a fact. That's just a fact. I mean, I choose to have confidence that it will work out in a way. I don't think we're going to be great up front. I really don't, just being honest with you, but I think there's a chance that we can be improved, not necessarily from a talent perspective, but maybe from a fit and an execution perspective, which will then in turn uplift the rest of the positions that we have on the offense side of the ball. That's the positive outlook on it. But there's also a very real outlook on it where you say you got a whole new group up front, a lot of youth. There's going to be growing pains. There's not a guarantee that the talent is much better than the talent that we had prior. And you're pairing that with a young quarterback, that could cause, for some growing pains, some issues. That's just a fact. So I don't get mad at anybody that sees it either way. I think it really is just about how you view it. It's about perspective. Um, but Christian, I guess it's too hard for Bama to sustain success with all that have come and gone over the years and the change that takes place in the sport. Sounds like Bama can't be dominant. No, no, no. I wouldn't say Bama can't be dominant. I think it's hard for any team to be dominant in today's day and age. I mean, that's why, to me, Indiana was so impressive was the fact that they did look like that one team. Now, Miami started to look like that towards the end a little bit, but they still weren't quite there either. But Indiana, to me, they were so impressive because, yeah, they had older guys, but they didn't have a whole bunch of big name players or things like that. And then again, that to me is like the surface level. If you really watch the tape, I mean, listen, it's not just me. Go watch any analyst or somebody that's played the game that breaks down Indiana's tape. Landon, he does a nice job with like the front stuff. He breaks down like offensive line play. Just go watch it, how those guys execute in that system, man. Like, oh, that's coaching, culture, execution, like those things, they were top notch. Age plays a part in it, but it's not the whole thing. But outside of them, I mean, you're just not really going to see any team that looks dominant. But I think for Alabama, the recipe is what I said before we got off air. I think at the end of the day, if you want to be as competitive as possible in this landscape, I don't think all portal is the answer either, right? I don't. I know it worked out for Indiana. They brought in a whole bunch of guys. In my opinion, I think we're going to look back and it's going to feel like that's a little bit of an anomaly, so to speak. I'm sure it still will happen a little bit, but not to that. I don't think it's going to just be a trend where okay, like for example, LSU replacing a whole bunch of people hit the portal. Now, if LSU goes and wins it this year, then I'm probably going to look like I'm wrong. But I don't think that's going to be the new trend. I think the best way is to continue to recruit well, retain those guys, develop those guys, and you build around those core pieces with plug and play guys. So I still think you need to be aggressive in the portal, be willing to pay up, but only for the key positions of need and match those guys with what kind of like I said, I think Georgia kind of did a good job with that. In terms of going against some skill guys. They didn't have great skill guys the year prior. They went and got some out of the portal. And I think it worked well. I know they had some youth on defense, but they had growing pains. But by the end of the year, they were solid. I mean, Ole Miss has always definitely been big on the portal, and you see that that's led to them being very competitive over the past few years. Um, so I don't want to make it seem like the portal's not important. The portal is extremely important. I'm just saying I don't think you just like his point was, oh, basically abandon. What's the point of recruiting? I'm saying you still need that, but maybe just not as much emphasis as before. Most of those players were with Signetti 3+ years. Yeah, exactly. So he developed them at JMU, a good bit of them, and then just brought them over to Indiana. So I mean, that's a point for the developmental side of things. But to be fair, I mean, you got to have enough time to do that. Whether that means like is your staff going to be around or are the players going to stick around? So that's why I just say I think it's a little bit of a gamble if you over rely on development nowadays. That's just my opinion. Because I mean, it's a microwave society. People want results. People are expecting you to win right now. And the reality is, I mean, you don't have 3, 4, 5 years to develop these guys like you once did. You just don't. Because you're either A, going to have pressure from the school to get it done right now, or B, you're going to be fighting retaining those players that you're bringing in. So it's tough. I mean, coaching in college football right now is tough. It's just a fact. It's tough. Oh crap. I need to I don't know how to do this. Let's see. We got any last minute questions? I probably need to I gotta take care of something real quick. Yeah, I'll probably just get off here. I think my dad just jumped off. But anyway, glad we got into a great conversation at the end. I hate it came at the end. It went on radio, but you guys know, man, we always gonna shoot you straight. Now he definitely was he was going a little bit in today, but I had to give a little bit of pushback. I had to give a little bit of pushback. Not saying he's wrong with everything, but I think if there was a meter, like he was like on like this end, had to bring it back a little bit, bring it back a little bit. But we'll see, man. Spring's coming up. I'm fired up, man. Spring ball is going to tell us a lot. Seeing these line groupings and how everybody's working in, who's playing what position up front. The quarterback battle is going to be exciting. Defensively, I'm really eager to see the defensive line. These new guys, the staff is really high on them. I'm hoping that those guys end up being some really solid pieces. I know I didn't sound the highest on them. I hope them in this system ends up helping those guys get to that next level. But we'll have to see, man. We got plenty to look forward to. And like Smitty said, man, if you're a wrestling fan like me, Smitty, Chase, and other listeners, got the Royal Rumble, man. So it should be a good weekend. And Alabama basketball on Sunday. But that said, man, if you guys haven't, man, hit that like button on the way out. Appreciate you guys as always, listening and supporting everybody that left some super chats, man. Thank you guys so much. Seriously, we appreciate it. We enjoy doing this with you guys. Always fun to chop it up. And y'all have a great weekend. Look forward to doing it Monday. And we'll see you guys then.